Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tardis Zone Live. And we have a couple of guests, but we have one with us right now, and we'll have another one joining us soon. Hello, Balstrek. Nice to have you on board again.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing on this December 16th? It's cold. Yeah, the trigger train is very tired today, but I'm going to try and keep the energy up. Just gave the dog a rawhide bone, so she should hopefully leave us alone for the next 2 hours. But yeah, that's my story. Was out of town for work all last week, so that's why there were no videos. Got up 2 videos this weekend, and I'm going out of town again this week. And then I'm back on Friday, and I'm going to attempt to do a video a day from December 20th through to probably January 4th, January 3rd or 4th, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, and YouTube are bastards, so I've been having lots of fun dealing with that lately. They've normally December would be our best month, and it's a write-off for almost everybody. So fun times.
Yeah, sounds like you are a busy man, actually. Good evening, Richard Martin. Nice to see so many familiar faces in the chat. We've got 14 of you guys watching. I suppose this was short notice, so the number should go up as the evening goes on. But if you could do us a favor and share the link there, guys, I would really appreciate it. And for anybody that hasn't subscribed to Ballstreck's channel, obviously do so right now. So,
yes, I need to keep up with the deletions. Yeah, I'm actually I didn't even remember to I'm just going to send out a tweet live on Tardis live. I can't even type. Live Noel from Tardis. I can't type.
Oh my God.
And I've got like 8 hours of work to do tonight. Okay, so live with Noel from Tardis Zone on his channel. Tweet. I'll put an exclamation mark there.
And we've just got Dan. Dan is just getting ready in the background there, so we'll just give him a chance to get his headphones on. There you go, mate. Are you showing your face tonight, Dan? Yeah, because the rest of us are not. Well, nobody can hear you because I haven't added you to the stream yet.
I don't have a face. I'm just a disembodied.
Yeah.
That's what the Twitter tells me.
There he is.
Hello, boys. How are we all?
Hello, Dan. This is the first time I believe we have actually met. So how is life?
It's great. Thank you, Bolstrick. I've been watching and listening to you for so long. So, yeah, hello. Nice to finally meet you. You all right, Noel?
I am indeed. How are you, my pal?
Yeah, I'm good. It's getting late, but how could I refuse coming to talk to you two boys, eh?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And listen, thanks for coming on as well. I know it was a little bit short notice. A couple of guests that I had planned, they took unwell and stuff, so that can't be helped. So thank you, because you two guys came on short notice, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going round. It's going round everywhere over here. You're both over the water, aren't you? You're in Canada, aren't you, Bolstrick? And you're you're over the water as well. Yeah, we've all got it here. All my family are all ill. My brother's just got out of hospital. He's had pneumonia. It's been mayhem, 48 hours of absolute mayhem. But I could do talking about a bit of Doctor Who and whatever else you guys are going to talk about. So we're not live yet.
No, we are. We're live right now. You're live. You're in the stream now. People can actually hear you.
Hello, everybody. I can't see anybody in the chat. Is there nobody here?
No, there is. There's plenty. There's plenty in the chat. We've got 21 people now watching, actually. And we've got Derek. Daniel is in the chat as well. Charlotte is in the chat. Widhams7 is in the chat as well. We've got a couple of the regulars, Dan.
The gang's all here then. Good evening, everybody. How are we all? Daniel, who was it? Daniel and Cheryl and Derek. Yeah, I know them all. Sort of.
Right, guys, we might as well get straight into it. So let's talk about, I don't know, Dan, if you've actually seen the photographs of the new TARDIS interior.
Yes, I have.
Okay. So we'll talk about that first, because obviously there is the latest Doctor Who news. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday, was it? Or was it the day before they decided to drop photographs to show us the TARDIS redesign, the interior. Now we spoke about this on this channel obviously months ago. We said it was getting a small tidy up, but they've obviously went all out with this upgrade. Can I ask you firstly, Dan, what did you actually think of the new TARDIS interior upgrade?
The brand new with all the new tweaks and things.
Yes.
As you may or may not know this, some of you do know this, I work as a graphic designer and artist, art director, art consultant, and I've designed all sorts of things in my time, mostly two-dimensional, but some of it's been three-dimensional, and things to go in theme parks and things like that. So I've got a certain amount of what they could call chops where this kind of thing's concerned. And obviously, as a Doctor Who fan, just like the rest of you, we've all seen all the different TARDIS consoles, haven't we? We know kind of what to expect in the general shape. We know what we like and what we don't. That being said, I really hate this design. I've never liked it. I've never got on the right page with it. I think I can see what they're trying to do. This is like when it was first revealed. I could see what they're trying to do on paper. And, we've all seen some of the designs, haven't we, in that Type 40 manual book. Don't know where they got that name from. In the Type 40 manual book, sort of nice enough on paper, but in realization, that original version is nothing short of an eyesore, particularly with those enormous golden fingers. So when you hear about, I don't know how you felt about this, either of you, when you heard that they were going to tweak it, you thought, oh, great, maybe they're going to sort of make the fingers smaller, make it all a bit more subtle. But no, we get another enormous giant golden finger, this time coming in proper Monty Python style from the roof.
We were talking about that off air, actually. I said it looked, I won't say what I actually said, but I just said it looked like a male appendage. Let's just put it that way. I think it's hideous.
And where have we seen that before in this iteration of the show formerly known as Doctor Who, now known as insert expletive? I'm not going to get you in trouble, Noel, so I will not say the
You're okay. Word. You're okay. Sure, I'm not monetized. Say whatever you want.
It does look like some sort of experiment to fertilize something, doesn't it? They've put this enormous installation in the ceiling, this enormous ball thing coming down. So they've changed some of the things that they've changed are subtle things, which even Radio Times and Cult Times, they've picked up on originally. You see, originally last year, in my opinion, it looked like more than ever like a set rather than a domain of any kind. It looked like a set from a game show, and the one that I would say the most is the British series Dancing on Ice, which is of course on ITV, which looks like that's going to be the show that gives Doctor Who a good hiding on the over the following Sundays. It looks like a set from that show, like everything's been wheeled around into position. The iconography was very much overdone. They overdid it a little in the last TARDIS around the roof, but it was so out of sight a lot of the time that you didn't really notice, and you could see all the bits about it that were nice, really, all the stuff that looked so real and so organic that you could almost reach out and touch it. But with this, you've got like around the upper, there's a step. There's the first race section before you get to the console. They had all the Gallifreyan glyphs running along that. That's all gone, and it's all been replaced with more of that sort of crystalline stuff, which I think is nicer. I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to tie it all together so it does look like a domain. But unfortunately, the crystal stuff is just way, way, way too much. It doesn't. Not only is it really in your face, but I mean, and I know we're talking about fictional science here, and we've seen several reinventions of this, but the whole thing is really, really harebrained. It looks like something out of another show entirely. If it wasn't for the central console, the being stood around something central, you probably wouldn't think it was a Doctor Who set. I don't think. How do you two feel about it?
Well, when I was looking at it, it almost looks like a really sad attempt to recreate the RTD era TARDIS. It's almost like somebody got the original drawings from 2004 and completely misinterpreted them. And in terms of what that thing coming out of the ceiling is, I've got the pictures up right now. But if you look at the console, you can tell it's very similar to the RTD era, except uglier.
I would imagine it is. I would imagine they would have looked at those blueprints and those floor plans and gone right back to that, because they've done the same with the logo. The latest version of the logo, it's even though it's outside of the lozenge shape, it occupies a similar sort of field of vision to the David Tennant, Russell T Davies era one. I've got the article up there, the Cult Times one, and you can see the closer they get, the more you can see what they're trying to do. Oh God, I just. No. This is
this is how I would describe Chibs' era of Doctor Who. When you don't have the bad scripts, the bad acting, when he actually tries to do something, he still fails. This was an attempt to give the fans something that they wouldn't hate. And even if you look at these pictures in isolation, say this was, I don't know, they introduced this during the Matt Smith era, for example, I would still say it was crap. Like, even when he tries, he sucks. But it's almost amusing at this point when you look at how this guy just can't get anything right. And it probably has to do with the fact that he got rid of all the designers that had been with the show since 2004 and brought in his own team. So that's why it looks so bad. And even if you with last year visually, even the way it was filmed was it was dry. It was washed out. I don't know what kind of red cameras he was using, but if you compare Series 11 to any of the HD Doctor Who series going back to the specials in 2009, Series 11 visually even looks like crap. And this looks like a continuation of that, where it's nothing about this interests me at all, though I see Jody still has her little microphone so she can yell.
Yeah.
They decided to include that.
And our little biscuit dispenser as well. She got our custard cream dispenser back. They actually made a point to show that.
I think that's supposed to be quirky, gentlemen. I think we're missing the point.
It is quirky.
See, when Matt Smith did it, talked about our jammy Dodgers and stuff, it was funny. It made us all giggle. When Jody does it, it just doesn't have the same effect, because look, everything that you can see with this era is a carbon copy of what's came before. You just look at the way she acts. She's acting like Matt Smith and David Tennant all the time. It even looks like they've went one step further for Series 12, because now she's wearing bow ties and she's actually wearing a suit similar to what David Tennant wore. So, I mean, to me, as I said this before, Chibnall just seems to be the JJ of Doctor Who. Cherry picks the best bits and then just shits all over them.
Although one thing I guess you can give JJ, at first everybody liked The Force Awakens. It wasn't until we saw the follow-up that we realized that The Force Awakens was kind of crap. But when I first saw The Force Awakens, I liked it. And with Chibs, and with Chibs, it's been crap from the word go. It was crap before he was producer. Look at the shows that he wrote before running. And like Stephen Moffat, when you look at his episodes before his tenure, they are what I will call New Who classics. If you look at Chibs, I believe it's 5 entries before taking over as showrunner. They are what I will call New Who insert expletive.
You can say it. I don't care. Look, if you want to let yourself
it's shit,
go
Noel.
on this,
it's shit. It's complete shit. It's complete and utter shit. There,
guys. I'm looking at this photograph of this new set of steps that they've got going up from the TARDIS console into whatever area that's going to be. I mean, it just looks like it should have some sort of. It looks like a rack for putting out plants or something in a garden.
It looks like an IKEA shelf.
Yeah.
You put a couple of people walking. I mean, nobody's going to be able to run up that for a start. It looks completely impractical, and the colours. It's just all too the blue and the gold. It's just all way too much. I'd like to. Like I say, I can appreciate that they're trying to save it and trying to give it a little bit more context, but it really is. As far as I'm concerned, this thing needs scrapping. It really does. The scrapping.
But you see, what puzzles me is they've spent more money on this, right?
Yeah,
they've actually spent more money on this. right? And it still looks, and I'm sorry, but to me, that does not, and I agree, it does not look like a TARDIS console. It doesn't look like a TARDIS interior. I'm sorry. And I agree with you, Dan. For the first time, it actually does feel like they're filming in a studio. It does feel like it. I mean, it was off to the side, so they've put it more central this time, right? To kind of give it the illusion that there's a bit more space. But it still looks off. The only one good thing that I said is that the TARDIS console itself, if you look at it, it's a bit of a throwback to Paul McGann's console, I thought. The middle of it. I think there's a lot of little throwbacks to him on her TARDIS, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there are little things, little touches here and there that I like, but then that's, like I do quite like the idea of the microphone. Just like I like the idea of the Binatone phone that was there in the Matt Smith TARDIS. But it's just the general principle of it. The big crystals. I know the TARDIS is supposed to be powered by Zyton 7 crystals, but without a time rotor, without a rise and fall like that, to me, it's not the Doctor's TARDIS. It could be another. And the central console that you just talked about, Noel, with all that detailing, from the top, it actually looks okay. But you take a step back from it and see all those pipes, that you can tell that none of those pipes actually go anywhere or do anything. And it's actually quite anachronistic with the rest of the design. And like you say, I mean, they've doubled the size. Well, okay, they've probably added a third extra onto the size. They can't quite double down with this because they haven't got the studio space, but they're not going to, they seemingly aren't going to give up on any of the things they put in place last year, no matter how much the audience disliked them. They're not going to back down.
Yeah, actually, I think Paul has made a great point there. Steampunk doesn't belong in Doctor Who. The console was moved to allow the cameras more viewing angles and movement on set. Yeah, that's what I reckon the reason why they've actually done that, because the TARDIS console originally in Series 1 was a bit over to the side and it did look awkward. And I do agree. I think they've probably realised that they had to move it. That's why I think we didn't get much TARDIS interior shots in Series 11, because we didn't get too many. If you actually look back, we didn't get much of the TARDIS either.
You know why we didn't really? It's because they're quite difficult to write. Well, let's say difficult. They take a little bit of TLC, particularly when you've got 4 central cast members. You both have noticed this. I've heard you talk about it. When the cast are in the TARDIS, at least 2 of them are stood around staring into space because it gives them away as being spare, that there's nothing for them to do apart from stare into space. And so they get them out of that TARDIS as quick as possible, split them up, make one disappear entirely if they can. It amplifies the problems of the production that it's had since they put it together on paper. It's as if they had no real foresight, no creative foresight, and they never really had a handle on who these characters were and how they would interact. And that shows itself right from the sort of formative stages of putting the thing together, their vision for Doctor Who, and in those final products, those 11 generally appalling episodes that we were subjected to up until this time last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they've done seasons before with very little TARDIS. Look at season 26. We see the interior once at the beginning of Battlefield. And, well, the reasoning for that is the set was in such horrific condition that all they had left was one wall and the console that they'd been using for 6 years. And that's actually why it was so dimly lit, because it looked so horrendous that they couldn't actually show it with the regular lighting. But yeah, it worked fine in season 26 with just the TARDIS exterior. But they didn't in season 11, they didn't have, or series 11, they didn't have the issue where, okay, we can't afford a TARDIS. They did have a TARDIS. But Dan, I think your point is right. The 3 companion, I guess we'll call it approach. It's been shown in the past that it really
we can't call it a dynamic, Bolstrek. We can't call it a dynamic because it is.
I know, yeah.
We'll call it lack of dynamic. But they should have known that, because it really didn't work when they did it during the Peter Davison years, and that's why it was never done again until Chibs came along. But yeah, but the TARDIS in Series 11 was more an afterthought, although the less we saw of it, the happier I was.
I love the outside of it. I keep telling people I do really like the
Yeah,
outside.
I love the outside of the TARDIS.
Once you get inside,
yeah.
Once you get inside, I mean, everything that's subtle and textured and feels real about the outside. It's when you get inside, it just completely vetoes it.
Yeah, that was the only good thing that I could actually give credit for when all of this nightmare started to unfold. The only thing that I gave credit was actually the outside of the TARDIS. I do like the color. I do like that they went to the black sign. I know people have a problem with that, but I actually like that TARDIS design on the outside. It's just they went from that, and then you think, okay, they designed it great on the outside, and then I remember actually. Do you remember when the photographs were leaked and those crystal panels weren't lit up? The columns weren't lit up, and they were leaked, and the designer came out and had a big hissy fit. He had a big hissy fit over it because he's saying, "Oh, that's not true representation of what they are because they're not lit up and all, and they shouldn't have been leaked." And I think the BBC
he's right.
Actually,
once we did see it lit up, it did look different, but it actually looked worse.
It looked worse. Yeah,
I'm looking at this one. If you look at the door, they don't have the police box doors or the inside of the police box doors. They have these two horrid little fans or things that look like fans. I just noticed that. So which has been a tradition since 2005. So yeah, they've gotten rid of the police box.
Oh right. Well, I'll have to tell you about this because I know that you both know her. On the day that they released the photograph of Jodie Whittaker in costume for the first time, where she sort of stood on that grassy embankment.
Yeah.
Yep. I got sent that picture direct by. I know she's not up now. She's gone to bed, but I know she'll be watching this later. By Sarah, the starry-eyed girl. She sent me that picture through to my phone, and of course, my first instinct was, "What the is she wearing?" But I looked past the Doctor. I looked past the figure that was standing central, and my eyes just gravitated towards that police box at the back. If it hadn't been for that, you would never have had any inkling that was a promotional picture for Doctor Who. It looked so unlike the Doctor to me, unrecognisable from my childhood hero. It's.
Well, the first time I saw it, I was at work, and I was working with some good friends I don't work there anymore, but I was with some friends that were also diehard Doctor Who fans, so we actually pulled out the picture, and we all just doubled over laughing. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that picture. Oh, yeah.
We waited months, but every little thing like that. I don't know how you guys felt about it, how the people watching in the chat, how they felt about it, but every little nugget that was coming out. I was just getting it. I was just getting to that place in my head every single time where I thought, okay, Dan, don't lose it. It might not be that bad. And then they bring out the picture of her in costume. Think, oh, okay, it is going to be that bad.
Yeah.
It was a constant thing,
Yeah, but you know what? It got even worse then when we got that breaking the glass ceiling trailer. Do you remember? That's when I knew. That's when I knew it was game over. That trailer that was it for me.
We haven't had any trailers aimed directly for the politics side of the show this time, have we? As far as I know, I've been out of it for about 48 hours, but as far as I know, there's only been the two trailers, and they've both been clip heavy rather than anything sort of bespoke and specially shot, and anything. How can I put this? Anything to troll fans. So it does make you wonder, are they... I've no doubt that within the content of Series 12, there's all that doubling down that we've spoken about time and time again. And that Gary's mentioned in videos, Gary Nerdrotic, over and over again. I've no doubt that's going to happen. But the promotion of it, we just had the two trailers. And until Lenny Henry opened his mouth the other day, things were actually quite low-key. Yep. But whoa, did he blow the doors off that one?
They're trying to get as many people as they can to give the series premiere a chance, which will be on New Year's Day, so it'll technically be a special. So they're trying to lure people back in, saying, yeah, it's not as bad as it was. Then you watch it. I'm like, okay, so here's the way I see it. If you take away all the politics, if you take away, even if you give Stephen Moffat level scripts, look at the Doctor, and aside from one companion, which would be Graham, look at the actors and the characters you have to work with. Like it doesn't matter. You could have Philip Hinchcliffe and Robert Holmes running this season, and it wouldn't help because you have somebody that was completely miscast from the start, and somebody that could not. Like I've mentioned this in occasional videos, but the one thing that every other Doctor, including the War Doctor, had was a lot of the things that make the Doctor, and the performance are nonverbal. And each Doctor has been able to pull it off just with the look, just with the eyes, where you can see this is an ancient Time Lord. This is somebody that's been around for, well, depending on what the continuity was at the time, hundreds or thousands of years. Jodie Whittaker does not, she's tried, but she cannot pull off the nonverbal cues that the Doctor gives, the nonverbal performance. And that's why she falls flat on her face. And that's also why the comedy completely falls flat as well. Like, you can't take her comedy seriously. You can't take her seriousness seriously. The only time where you could see she's being genuine, sadly, was when she was telling off dudes in series 11. But this is somebody that just cannot. It's
like second nature to her.
Oh yeah. But this is somebody that cannot pull off the Doctor, and I think Graham actually. Bradley Walsh could pull off the Doctor.
Yeah.
He's the only one on that show with any
talent.
And unfortunately, he's part of that demographic that the BBC hates. Well, didn't they make Graham give the line about diversity in that one clip? No, I think it was you that sent it to me. Yeah, so I'm sure that was done for a reason. But yeah, no, I like Bradley Walsh. Make him the Doctor and get rid of the rest of them. Ryan can do it, but it just seems like he just doesn't care.
He doesn't care anymore, I don't think.
After week 4, it's like he's barely even there. You can see the man's brain melting and coming out of his ears. He's given nothing at all. I thought, the first two or 3 weeks, it wasn't a bad performance at all. No. He was, I dare say, he seemed as connected to his part as Bradley Walsh was. Bradley Walsh is the only one, because he's a great deal older, great deal more experienced, consummate in front of the camera, completely comfortable, and he can emote anything from within that character. He's completely inhabiting it. And the others aren't, for one reason or another. One of them is because the character is completely beyond her reach. I'll leave you to work out which one that is, but she's got blonde hair. And the other two...
I think it might be the case for 2 of them.
Yeah, well, the other 2 are simply really quite inexperienced, and they're being given tiny, tiny morsels to work with. Their frustration. That's why, Mandip Gill, she's been very, very loyal. And I can only think that there must be a huge arc for Yaz this time. Otherwise,
I had rumors as to what that will be, and God help us if nothing against that in principle, but the Doctor doesn't have relationships.
It shouldn't be on Doctor Who anyway.
I think that Rose, and they never tried it again.
Yeah, and it shouldn't. The Doctor shouldn't be in a relationship with anybody, male, female, nobody.
I don't think they'll go there. I don't think they'll break that mold for this series. I think that. They will play with it. They will encourage people. All those fans out there who are writing the fanfic and things like that, and they'll play ball with them. Yeah, they will play to them, but they won't give it to them. No. I think they'll dance around it. Go on, sorry, Boss.
I was saying that, and there were rumors that Rose was going to be in this series. I think those were over a year ago. I think those have been pretty much dispelled now. But but again, it could be a surprise at the end, and that's why. With Rose, I like Series 1 Rose. I can't stand Series 2 Rose. But if they brought Rose into the Whittaker era of Doctor Who...
There's only one way it's going.
Yeah, and I could see them doing that.
Well, apparently there was supposed to be some rumors on...
Because the relationship's already there. Because that relationship's already technically in the fiction already exists. So they can sort of... They've got that halfway to acceptance, whereby if anybody voiced any negative opinion at all, they'd say, well, you didn't have a problem 10 years ago with the Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently that was one of the rumors of why Chris Chibnall was supposed to walk off set, because apparently someone was supposed to shout to him. Now, of course, this is all rumor. I can't verify any of this, but apparently he was supposed to bring back Billy Piper, and Billy Piper was very much in his plans for Series 12, but apparently he wanted that story arc to actually happen, and apparently someone shouted at Chris Chibnall, well, you do know Rose isn't a lesbian, and then apparently he walked off set. Apparently BBC had actually put a stop to it then because they thought he was going too far. Now, this is what I got told. Again, that's only rumor and speculation that can never be verified. No. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me.
That's it. It's believable. That's the sad state of affairs we are now in. This is completely believable.
I know. That's the problem. And that's why when you hear things like this, you kind of take a step back. I mean, for example, when we heard that rumor, all of us, everybody got quite emotional over the rumor that they were going to basically go back and destroy basically the Doctor's legacy by basically saying that the female regeneration of this Doctor, but the first line of regenerations was actually all female. They were, and everybody got very emotional over that. But that was the first time I seen the fans, even on both sides of the argument, come together and thankfully there is some that are still sane on the other side. But it needs to stop. I'm not even looking forward to it. I should be really excited right now. There's 2 weeks left to Doctor Who hits the TV screens, and I should be bouncing off the walls right now. But I'm actually dreading it.
Sad. It's sad, isn't it? You know, to know there's no fluttering of excitement whatsoever. No. There's a big hole in the middle of all our Christmas days. You know, I mean, I'm a grown man. I'll get over it. But I do think about, like the age that Sarah's children are, for example. Starry-eyed girl, sorry. Not everybody knows her as Sarah, no. But starry-eyed girls' kids are of that age where, they're still, it's removing it from their Christmas day. They were really upset. And everybody's kind of missing it. And the fact that we're not looking forward to the start of it whatsoever. In fact, I'm kind of dreading it a little bit. I am. I'm more excited about the conversation that's going to happen around it with such as you two gentlemen, with Starry-Eyed Girl, with all the other people that I know, and sort of put all this kind of material together with and have a laugh with. But yeah, I mean, it comes to something. You've got to make your own fun in Doctor Who fandom now, haven't you?
The shit show after it is going to be what's going to be the conversations, as you said, of other YouTubers, because like when Ballstreck starts doing his reviews and Gary starts doing his reviews, and of course that's when I won't be on watching TV at all. I'll be on YouTube 24/7 watching every single review, doing me own obviously, and having people on discussing these episodes. That's what I'm looking forward to, but I am really dreading. And I hate to say that. It is sad.
It is terrible.
It's sad. You see what Ghostbusters did with that trailer, right? Everybody kind of got emotional watching that trailer. And I watched some of the reactions of fans watching the trailer. And the one thing that was consistent was everybody said this is the Ghostbusters movie that we should have got. But secondly, you could see the actual joy in people's faces while you are watching this trailer. The build up to the end of this trailer, you could just see their faces. They all lit up. Now, I will admit, all their faces lit up when they seen the trailer to The Force Awakens, and I was one of them as well. I think
we had no idea what we were getting into with The Force Awakens, but we knew what we were getting into with the first trailer for Ghostbusters 2016. It was, what in the name of holy hell is this?
Yeah, we knew then, but this is why I'm cautious, because trailers have fooled us before. And I think Chris Chibnall is, and BBC, and I think you've brought up a great point, Dan. The reason why we're getting clip-heavy things, because they want to try keep all the agenda out, because they want to fool fans, bring us fans back. And I think it is going to work to a certain extent for the first episode anyway. If they tone it down for the first and the second episode, I see people hanging on to the third one at least, right? But
Do either of you know the budget for this whole season? Is it the same as last time? Because I haven't got a clue. That's how disinterested I am. I don't know if they've upped the budget or what.
I don't think it's even been released.
No, it hasn't been released. But Chris Chibnall keeps saying in every interview that the first 2 episodes are going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. Oh, we heard that last year.
Yeah, here we go.
It was like nothing we'd ever seen before. Just not in the way they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. But this time, apparently, we're going to be all blown away. And I've noticed in these interviews as well, he's kind of, you could say, he's trying to make it a point that this series is for everybody. Everybody. So what you're trying to say, last year you're admitting you made a mistake, that you only made it for a certain demographic, but this year you've actually got it spot on. Don't agree. He's talking out of his arse as usual.
For 3 or 4 months, both him and his leading lady pretty much told a huge section of the audience to not watch or stop watching.
Yep.
It's that simple.
Yeah, go ahead, Ballstrick. Sorry.
Well, the quote in Vulture last year, the week before Series 11 aired, Jodie Whittaker, classic Doctor Who, celebrated the white male gaze. That tells you all you need to know right there.
I'll never ever forget that. I'll never forgive it, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah,
I just don't know where we go from here. I mean, I don't even know where.
Poor Chris Persia here. Chris Persia saying that the little kid in me is missing my Doctor Who Christmas special. You know, and you know, we are all grown-ups. I think everybody watching this stream is probably a grown-up. But it is supposed to be for the child inside all of us. It is supposed to be for everybody. When are they going to start walking the walk rather than talking the talk? Jodie Whittaker gave another interview a couple of days ago, and I haven't got it to hand, but it's in my group, in the Type 40 Facebook group. And there was some sort of quote, and every interview, it goes right to the gender, and she was, I will not let it be used to divide people and all this. Wow. A bit late.
Yeah. And here, let's be honest, right? We all talk about Doctor Who and Christmas, and it has become a thing. But let's be honest, right? Even though the last couple of Christmas specials have been absolutely awful and terrible, right? Yeah. We still look forward to them because there's always some elements of those Christmas specials that people like, and it'll be different elements, right? They haven't been great over the last few years, but it has. Christmas isn't the same for me. To be quite honest, it doesn't feel like Christmas. I'm being honest. It doesn't feel like Christmas because I'd sit there now. The dad wouldn't watch it anymore now, but he was a classic Whovian. But he won't watch he hasn't watched it even when it came back in 2005. So that just goes to show you where he is on it. But in my house, it was have the Christmas dinner, spend a couple of hours with the family, and then me and the 2 brothers then would go up to the room, switch on the TV, have our snacks, and Doctor Who would be on for the hour. And that became a tradition. Now that tradition is gone now because there's no obviously Doctor Who on Christmas anymore. And he's ruined everything.
It's even for me. Like I wasn't exactly a kid. I was I was 27 when the Christmas Invasion came out. But it was the same thing for me as well. It was my Christmas Day tradition. Even the bad ones, and there were some bad Christmas specials. Moffat's last 2 come to the top of my list. Exactly. But even with those, it was something to do. They were lighthearted. They were an event during the David Tennant and Matt Smith years. Like I believe Voyage of the Damned still, to this day, 12 years later, I can't believe it's been that long, but 12 years later, I believe it's still the highest rated version in the UK of Doctor Who. I think it actually was over on our side of the pond as well.
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite episode, actually. Now, I know I like the Christmas Invasion, but Voyage of the Damned is my favorite because I love that and got to do with the Titanic. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Go ahead, Ballstrick. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's where I was going. But yeah, well, I think personally, I've always been fascinated with the story of the Titanic. I have every Titanic movie ever made on DVD and Blu-ray. So I like that, but it was a fun adventure, and it wasn't necessarily too light because there were some sad graphic deaths in it, but it was It was something that the whole family could appeal to, and it's especially with the David Tennant specials. There was always a special feeling about them. Moffat could never really pull off Christmas specials. The Christmas Carol, I think, is the only one he did that I actually liked. But still, there was that special feeling to it. Whereas this year, coming off the complete dumpster fire that was Series 11, then we got Resolution New Year's Day, and all it did was intensify everyone's hangover.
It was a stinker, wasn't it? Real bad.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Resolution, as you all know. I actually compared the Resolution clips of the Doctor meeting a Dalek to when Christopher Eccleston in Dalek met a Dalek, and the two scenes are just, even Matt Smith's scene with the Dalek when he has the jammy Dodger is even better than the scene when Jody meets the Dalek for the first time. I mean, she's calling the Dalek.
She has
she's
none.
calling the Dalek mate. She's calling the Dalek mate, get off the planet. Like, what the hell are you on, woman? Oh, that whole scene is cringy. I just don't like Resolution. I've tried to watch it again. I've actually tried to watch
where she's trying to do Matt Smith, but the problem is Matt Smith, he could do Alien. You could get the impression that this was a guy that he was, if he was a human, you'd probably claim that, Matt Smith probably had Asperger's because he sort of played it that way. But he, this is somebody you could get that he was an alien. You could get that he was old. He pulled off awkward and quirky very well. Whittaker is trying to imitate that. She has multiple times, and it just comes off. When she does quirky, she's trying to imitate Matt Smith. When she tries to do confidence or tries to pull off the serious Doctor, well, it's more so much she's trying to channel David Tennant. So it's a very poor imitation of both of them. And I find it's just really cringy when she tries to do Matt Smith, because no Doctor that we've had could ever quite do comedy. I'm including even Tom Baker in this. Could do comedy quite the way Matt Smith did. And it's because of his own acting talents. And, Capaldi, even though Moffat in the final 2 years, you could tell he was obviously trying to write the 12th Doctor like the 11th. But Capaldi is, he's, I think, one of the most talented actors out there. He was able to do something with it and spin it slightly differently. Whereas Whittaker, I don't know what she's doing, but it looks like it's a fan production of somebody trying to do Matt Smith.
Bare minimum. She's saying the words. She stood on her mark. She's looking in the right direction. And apart from that, there is no substance there.
There's nothing
whatsoever.
There's no screen presence. Nothing.
And to think that there may have been a time in between recording, just a couple of weeks, a time in between recording Series 11 and recording Resolution, for her to maybe sit down with her showrunner and, how did it go? How do you feel about the character? Let's take it to like a next level now you've been inside this role for a while. That they may have had that conversation. And that's what they came up with for that grand moment, for bringing the Doctor face to face with her mortal enemy. And that is what they came up with between them. It's just mind-blowing to think that they believed that was some sort of special occasion, that was reward for trudging our way through Series 11 and all the new creations they sort of farted into our faces.
Well, one thing that I think she did, which is very disrespectful, is she refused to watch any classic Who. Whereas you have Matt Smith, who, when you look at David Tennant or Peter Capaldi, they were both Doctor Who fanatics, so they both knew the series from memory. Matt Smith wasn't a Doctor Who fan, but he'd gotten the role. And the one thing that he didn't want to do was screw it up. So he watched every existing episode of the show, going back to 1963 up until David Tennant, took notes, looked at various things that might work with his Doctor, that had worked with previous Doctors, because he was he was panicked because he didn't want to destroy this show. He wanted to get it right. Whereas Whittaker came in, I don't need to watch that. I'll just imitate the little bit I've seen from Smith and Tennant, and I'm going to do my own thing. And then we saw what her own thing was, and oh my God.
Yeah, I'm just saying, someone saying her using her Yorkshire accent was a huge mistake. I actually agree with that one as well, but is she from Huddersfield? I think it was Huddersfield.
Well,
Huddersfield,
she said on David Tennant's podcast that it was, and she plainly, I can't give an exact
Didn't
quote.
she actually say Chris Chibnall told her not to watch any classic Who?
Yes, that's true. But she also said that she wasn't going to do the accent, simply wasn't going to attempt to not use her own natural accent because it was too difficult.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh. And that right there tells you that she's bad casting. Because, Sylvester McCoy and Peter Capaldi, they both used their Scottish accents. But for them, it worked. And we know that they were both capable of pulling off different accents. David Tennant is Scottish. He naturally has a very, very thick Scottish accent.
Yeah.
Early on, he decided this is not going to work. So unlike Whittaker, he had I didn't even know he was Scottish until I started watching some interviews. Like he pulled off a perfect English accent.
Russell T Davies said he was interviewed about this a short while into David Tennant's tenure. And they asked Russell T Davies why Tennant had not used his natural accent. And apparently between them, they come to an agreement that particularly after Chris Eccleston's performance, where it was obviously played on being from the north, that if he came in and did this broad Scots accent, that it would look like the show was trying to tour the provinces, and it would it would humanize. And this is the problem I've got with the accent, to be honest. It's the fact that it really humanizes the character of the Doctor way too much. It makes them it's one thing to have them to be able to relate to human beings, but it makes the character, he or her, it makes them seem mundane. It makes them seem that bit closer to us. They should be just that bit out of reach.
Yeah, and I think the northern accent, it did work for Eccleston.
It did.
But it just doesn't work with this Doctor. And I think it's not just so much the accent, it's just the terrible acting. And when you can tell that somebody is trying to act, and in most of those scenes, you can see Whittaker acting, that is the sign of a bad actor.
You can see the cogs turning, can't you?
Yep.
The cuckoo.
And you look at her, instead of having that serious doctor look in her eyes, sometimes it's a look of complete panic. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then other times it's a look of complete unearned arrogance.
Yeah, I have to be honest. She is way out of her league.
Is anybody expecting anything different from Jodie Whittaker over those 10 episodes over those 9 weeks?
Well, for the two trailers
she can't do it.
And for the two trailers that I've seen for series 12, it looks like she's the same.
Yeah.
She actually even tried to tell a bit of a joke when she's cutting that little thing with someone else. Who was she with? I don't know who she was with, but she tries to tell a joke in the trailer. She can't even do comedy either. I mean, she's just, look, Chris Chibnall just gives his best friends jobs. God help us if he's staying.
Well, she was the runner-up because his first choice, which is one that I've said before I would agree with, but she was also apparently one of the choices for the 12th Doctor, or one of the front runners for the 12th Doctor, along with Idris Elba, was Olivia Colman. And she could pull off the Doctor. She has range. If you can look at two extremes. You can look at, say, Olivia Colman in Broadchurch, well, the one good season, which was the first season. And then you can look at her performance in Peep Show, which is completely different. So she can pull off serious. She can pull off comedy.
Yeah.
And it's been rumored, although we've never gotten confirmation, that Chibs wanted Colman to take the role, and she wasn't interested. She wanted to do other things, and she didn't want to make the time commitment. So rather than maybe if he was hell-bent on casting a female Doctor, I'm sure there are many female actresses in the UK that could pull it off, but he didn't go to any of them. He's like, okay, who else do I have on Broadchurch? Okay, Jodie Whittaker, you're the Doctor. And when the casting announcement was made, the rumor came out the day before that Jodie Whittaker was going to be cast. I'm like, oh God, this is too random.
Yeah,
this is where we're going. And then we had that dark day.
I agree with you. As soon as I start hearing her name being piped, I knew she was getting the job. I knew there would be nobody else cast then.
It just rang. It just rang true, didn't it? It just when you heard it, you thought, oh, it was that dawning realization. Oh my God, he's going to actually do that.
I actually think they used the fact that your man was leaving his show, Paradise. What's that, Murder in Paradise?
Death in Paradise, Chris Marshall.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember his name.
I think they actually used that as a bit of to distract everybody, because his name was linked to it, and I don't think anybody auditioned for this role anyway. We've never seen we've never even heard anybody else come out and say they auditioned unless
I think there were token auditions, but
that's the expression, is it? Token? I mean, from what we've heard, she didn't actually audition for. By the time she got in front of Piers Wenger, not only did she not audition live to him in a studio environment, but it was pretty much a formality. They got to do an audition over FaceTime through her iPhone. So it was a minor courtesy. Because any creative executive on that level worth their salt, who hadn't given over complete power to Chris Tibble by that point, would have demanded to have been in that room on a second or third round of auditions. Bolstrick, when you mentioned Olivia Colman a minute ago, and you talked about Broadchurch and that one good season.
Yeah.
So when I think back to Broadchurch, because I watched it all as well, what convinces me more about Olivia Colman is that, she wasn't just good in the one good season. She was actually good in seasons 2 and 3 as well.
Yeah, the acting was good. It was the script was,
There's a woman who can polish a turd. Jodie Whittaker can't. She disappeared not so much in season 2, but certainly in season 3 of Broadchurch, and wasn't really that good in season 2. But Olivia Colman was always present. You were always engaged.
I've been watching Olivia Colman lately. She's actually in the 3rd season of The Crown, and she plays Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, I've got to watch that.
I've been watching her, and her performance in that is absolutely fantastic. Now, Crown Series 3 it's not as good as the other 2. I think it's actually declining, to be quite honest. But there's 1 or 2 good episodes. It's just like the stories are getting a bit mundane. We like a bit of drama. The princess.
Hello.
Did we lose Noel?
Oh, he's gone. He's gone. We can get a word in there, can't we?
Hey, well, I'm sure he'll come back. Oh, hey, buddy, you dropped out.
Oh, I dropped out. Oh, I keep dropping out for some weird reason. That's weird.
It's StreamYard.
But in fairness, I have to admit, our performance in The Crown, it's another cracking performance, I have to say. Olivia Colman, I'm glad she avoided this shit show, because she'd have those scripts. And I'm being honest with you, I know you can say some good actresses and actors can polish a turd, but not this one. This one would be. You wouldn't be able to polish this one.
Big steamer, 10-week steamer.
Seriously,
and I'm of the belief, and I've always said there are actresses that could play that role, of which Olivia Colman is undoubtedly one. Personally, I'm in the camp that says that the Doctor should have remained male. It's that simple. It was harming nobody. There'd been plenty of strong female characters, heroes, and just characters in general, all throughout Doctor Who, if you're willing to look for them. And it was completely unnecessary to change this particular character into a female, and they will never convince me otherwise. But it's one problem compounded by another. That's how I view it.
See, the way I looked at it is I'm the same way. I want the Doctor to remain a male. But if they wanted to do something like this, you'd have to give me something within the narrative of the show that convinces me. So it has to work within the narrative of the show. It can't be because of outside ideologies. I think when we're also talking about casting in terms of Chibs' laziness, if you compare it to the way Stephen Moffat cast Matt Smith, because after Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, he wanted to cast an older Doctor. And then Matt Smith, who was just 27 at the time, came in and blew everyone away. So he went with who was the best actor. Although it's been reported that he may have cast Peter Capaldi at the same time, because I believe he also read in 2009 for the role of the Doctor. So I think Stephen Moffat decided to cast both his doctors at the same time. But Matt Smith was the exact opposite of what he wanted, and he blew him away. I think he may have run into Capaldi maybe a little bit after that. But yeah, whereas Chibs didn't even look at anybody else, and he chose somebody that was incompetent because he wasn't able to look at other options, where Moffat, even though he was looking for an older man, and it was just men because it was a male character until 2017, he looked at everyone, all age groups, and ended up picking the best one. Chibs, even his token castings or casting sessions were all women. I'm like, well, if you wanted to look at characters, why not look at both women and men? And you might have one from either gender that might blow you away. But he had this thing set in his mind, and I think he also had it set in his mind that he wanted to do somebody that he already knew. And I think part of that has to do with the fact that he was going to turn it into an ideological program, and he wanted somebody he would trust. Because Olivia Colman, she is, if you look at her, she's definitely a feminist. She's just not as hateful as Jodie Whittaker is.
A proper feminist, a classic feminist.
Yeah, more second wave than
who believes in equality rather than complete
supremacy.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what's happened, unfortunately. And we've got one in the lead role.
It's interesting that, obviously, because when Stephen Moffat cast Matt Smith, they weren't complete strangers. Matt Smith had auditioned for Sherlock, hadn't he? He'd auditioned for Dr. Watson. Yeah. And with David Tennant, Russell T Davies was working with him on Casanova at the time. So they were familiar, and there's a certain amount of convenience there, I don't doubt. But I have there's no doubt in my mind whatsoever, if either of those two creatives hadn't have thought this is the right man at the right time, the right person at the right time, they wouldn't have cast them. They wouldn't have let that. And as you say, Bolstrak, I can believe that he saw Peter Capaldi at the same time. And I believe that over the next few years, maybe Moffat will write his writer's tale book, and we'll find out a little more about the processes that he went throughout that, however long was it, 6 or 7 years he was showrunner. It'd be fascinating when they do, because of course we know that Matt Smith and Stephen Moffat had that enormous fallout during the making of Nightmare in Silver. It'd be interesting to see how frank he is about that. Yep. The fallout from that was dire, really, because Matt Smith would have almost certainly have stayed on for another year. I think I'm sure that when it does all come out, there'll be lots of positive and negative things, but it'll be an eye-opener about the casting process, the creative process, and the decision-making, and those things that kind of made our radar, that as fans we did notice that, you could spot when something wasn't quite right or didn't ring quite true. There's numerous behind-the-scenes fallouts. But however, how long it will be before we ever find out anything about the Chris Chibnall era, if at all.
I remember Matt Smith. His plan was to do 5 years because the 3-year pattern hadn't really been set, and even early in 2013, he was talking about, or no, maybe it was 2012. Yeah, it was 2012 before Series 7 Part 1 aired, and he had been talking about staying for 5 years. I remember the announcement that he was leaving, from what I recall, was after Series 7 Part 2 had aired. So I think it was actually still up in the air at that point. But and going back to RTD, David Tennant, he was originally cast as the runner-up, from what I remember, from when they cast Christopher Eccleston, and he was the stand-in. Although apparently, when David Tennant came in the second time after the whole kerfuffle with Eccleston, which there's 5 or 6 different versions of it now, depending on what you believe. But after that, when David Tennant was brought in to read for a second time, he blew everyone away. And you could watch the Christmas Invasion. I think it was a very clever way of introducing a doctor, where David Tennant isn't in it for the first 2/3 of the episode. He spends most of it passed out. But then there's that scene when he comes out of the Tardis and he just blows everyone away. Imagine doing that with Whittaker.
I know. It wouldn't have the same. But you see, I was like you. David Tennant, I have to admit, was a doctor that I wasn't actually looking forward to. And I'll tell you why. I had seen Casanova, and I had seen how cringy that show actually was.
Well, when
I seen he had gotten the role, I was like, nah, he's not, because Christopher Eccleston still holds a special place in my heart, because obviously he was the first New Who Doctor. But not only that, he was a guy that actually had a bit of backlash and a bit of stick when they originally got the role. People said that he wasn't naturally funny and that he wouldn't be able to be funny. But he proved everybody, I mean, even in Rose, that first episode where the London Eye is behind him, and he says, well, looking for something big and circular and all, and he keeps looking around, and he's looking at her directly, but he hasn't copped it yet, and then he realizes it's there. That's just so funny. But
we've never seen him play anything warm before, had we? No, that was it. It was very, very intense. All of
he was always intense, yeah. And then when David Tennant, and I agree with you, I think the first time, do you know what won me over with him, Ballstrick? It was the scene where he jumps out of the bed. It was directly after the Christmas tree tries to attack him.
With the
and
sonic
he goes
screwdriver
out,
scene.
and he goes out in the sonic screwdriver scene, and he's really, really like that whole scene there. And then Jackie asked him, what do you need? A cup of tea? Like, she's mentioning everything but the cup of tea.
Soup and a sandwich will make everything better.
Yeah, but that scene where you could see there was a dark tone to him. And he did actually have that when he threw the Satsuma and the Sycorax fell. And I thought, oh, please stay with the dark tone. But it didn't.
Yeah. Well, they did stick with the dark tone. If there were 3 doctors that you probably wouldn't want to mess with, that had this really dark undercurrent, it's the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th. Whereas there's always been that dark side to the Doctor, but those 3 always come across as the most dangerous. And Capaldi, probably in Series 10 as well.
Yeah.
Or not Series 10, Series 8. His first series,
but that's a brilliant series. I think that's his best series. But I would have loved it to continue down that path. Now I know he got the balance right for Series 9, but I preferred the darker. I would have preferred Peter Capaldi's Doctor to continue down that route.
I think that was interference from the BBC.
Yeah, again,
guaranteed it was, because Series 9 was a year before the diversity and inclusion strategy, but 2015 was the year that the BBC largely went woke. So Doctor Who was made to toe the line. So I don't put up. I did a few years ago, but now I don't blame Stephen Moffat exclusively for the problems with Series 8 and 9. Right. Where that was interference from the BBC.
Well, he did actually say it in an article, didn't he? Because I think he was getting sick and tired of being kind of blamed on everything. And he actually did do a little piece where he was saying he wasn't in control of certain decisions that were made. I think he's actually come out and said it out straight. And you've actually heard these comments personally on how the Doctor should be played. And that little video clip is actually very interesting, because that's what Stephen Moffat actually believes. And I do believe that most of the stuff that was in his era was forced by the bigger his BBC.
His first 5 or his Matt Smith seasons were largely apolitical. Like it was, and you could tell that that's kind of where his own ideology lies, where he does have his ideology, but he doesn't believe in putting it front and center. You started to see it creep in with Series 8, because there were some very blatant scenes within there, and then it just went to hell in a handbasket 9 and 10.
Yeah. Do you think it's because when Matt Smith was playing the part, and that original, the way that Stephen Moffat reinvented the show, it had this sort of picture book fantasy world kind of feel to it, like it was planet Earth, but it wasn't quite our planet Earth, and a million miles away from politics and such mundane things as that. I think the most we ever saw to do with sort of mundane everyday life was the Village Green in Amy's Choice and all that sort of thing. Other than that, it was very much like something you would find in a children's story. It was faraway people in faraway lands almost, with just a tiny connection. Whereas the Capaldi era brought it sort of more back down to earth. Once once they redefined Clara for a second time and offered us the character yet again in the whole setup of her being a school teacher and whatnot, it brought it sort of back down to earth again, and all that stuff really started to creep in. And I'm not sure how conscious Stephen Moffat was of it, but I would be that the synchronizing of that with that inclusion strategy you're talking about, Bolstrek. It's the timing is too exact.
Well,
for it
happened
be a coincidence
on Sherlock at exactly the same time. I've
did.
only watched the last season of Sherlock once, but that coincides with his final years on Doctor Who as well.
Good point.
Yeah. That's the last couple of series of Sherlock, in my opinion, again, dipped in quality, and you could actually see politics at play, definitely. And I heard, which is unfortunate, if the rumors are true, Dracula seems to be going in the same vein. So obviously Moffat doesn't have as much power as he used to have, because
Dracula is BBC, right?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. Well,
it's a co-production. It's a co-production, but I'm not sure who with.
Because if it was,
I'll tell you now. Hold on, I'll find out real quick while you two are just talking on that point.
Yeah, I know it's bad with the BBC, but for what I've seen, I don't watch a lot of Channel 4 and ITV content anymore because it mostly seems to be crap. But apparently, it's just as bad over there as well.
It is. But the BBC is next to unwatchable, Bolster.
Yeah,
it's sincerely, and I don't say that with any glee. I was always quite a supporter of the BBC.
Oh, I was too, even from this side of the pond until 4 years ago.
I noticed today that they've just announced that our new old Prime Minister is speaking about scrapping the criminalisation of surrounding the license fee, about, if you're found to have not paid your TV license and all these other things, that you can be put in prison. He's talking about totally decriminalising all of that, and he's talking about scrapping the license altogether and making the BBC go down that road of a subscription model.
And then they will, and that's the best case scenario, because then they will be forced to change, or they will be finished. Or if you look at something,
see what the strategy says about that.
Guys, something very interesting. The first episode date for Dracula, right? Now, it says Dracula is an upcoming TV series developed by Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat, based on the novel of the same name by Bram Stoker. Nothing like it at all, but let's continue. The series is being developed for broadcast and released on BBC One and Netflix, and will consist of 3 episodes, right? But here's the interesting thing. BBC are actually dropping the first episode January 1st as well. So New Year's Day, Dracula is going to be on the same day.
Yeah, that's being done on purpose. And given that it's a co-production with Netflix, we know wokeness will definitely be there. Your best case scenario is what happened with Good Omens earlier this year, where it was a co-production with BBC World and Amazon Prime. And out of all the major streaming networks, Amazon Prime is probably the least woke. But I think it was the fact that Amazon had 50% ownership of the program as to why the wokeness was toned down. And actually, if you want to see an amazing performance from David Tennant, and you have Amazon Prime, check out Good Omens. They were dumb. They dropped the whole thing in a week. So
I watched it all as it went out. Noel, has that actually been on the BBC yet, Good Omens? I know they've got the rights to show it. It was supposed to be on over Christmas, but I haven't checked the guide yet, so I don't know.
No, I haven't seen it on the BBC. But that actually reminds me, David Tennant actually has a new show dropping as well, and it looks actually fascinating.
Channel 4, isn't it?
Channel 4, yeah, it looks very fascinating. I'm just trying to get up the name of the show so I can let people know, because I do follow Tennant's career.
It's another crime drama of some sort, isn't it?
Yeah.
But guys, I'm just gonna have to step away for a second. My dog is looking at me with a expression of panic. I think something has to drop immediately.
Okay.
I'm just gonna mute myself for a couple minutes, and you can all make fun of me in my absence.
It's all this talk. It's all this talk of Chris Chibnall would make me want to go to the toilet, to be quite honest. Chris Persia is just saying, Dracula is being co-produced between the BBC and Netflix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where is this now? David Tennant's new TV show should push, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think I think he may be playing a criminal in this one, which we all enjoy. He can play both good and bad.
It's called Dead. It's called Deadwater Fell. So I'll give you a bit of a read of the synopsis. The Good Omens actor leads a starry cast, including Cush Jumbo and Matthew McNulty in Channel 4's dark crime thriller. David Tennant appears to be returning to his Broadchurch roots, starring in Channel 4's upcoming drama about a small community rocked by a heinous crime. However, this time around, his character is at the very center of a dark mystery. Did he murder his own family? That's what it's about. His whole family is basically I've seen the trailer, so I think there's a fire or something, and his family end up dying. And in the trailer, you could see him getting very emotional and having to be dragged away. So I think the whole premise is kind of like, well, did he do it or did someone else do it? And I like those type of shows because you don't really find out until the end of those shows, which is great. Because let's be honest, I know a lot of the shit that is coming out of Channel 4 BBC aren't great, but there is a few gems coming out. Like for instance, there's another one that me and Cheryl watched recently called what was it called? The Accident. It was about a building site. It was on Channel 4. About a bunch of kids. They go into this building site. There's a new shopping center or something being built, and there's an explosion, and the whole building comes down, and there's a lot of deaths, and then there's a big investigation and stuff like that. It was actually pretty good. Now there is a few cringy scenes in it where a woman gets a man to act a bit like a dog, and if you don't like violence to women, well, none of us like violence to women, but if you don't like seeing violence to women, this is not the show for you either, because there's a husband and wife in this, and it's played by do you know the one that played Miss Foster?
Yeah, you mean Sarah Lancashire?
Lancashire? She's in this new show, The Accident. She plays the mother of one of the girl that's actually being accused, because she's the one that led all them into this building site, and it's our dad's shopping center as well. So there's a lot of things going on. So
it's quite a complex drama.
Yeah, well, I figured, might be, but like Cheryl hated watching it with me because I figured I figured everything out. I straight away the first couple of scenes, I actually figured the whole lot out, and I told Cheryl how it was going to end and everything, and she was like pissed off at me because I was kind of right.
Is that what he's always like to watch the TV with, Cheryl?
With me, yeah. She doesn't like watching that with me. I don't shut up talking or anything.
Our friend in the chat just mentioned the BBC possibly having the license fee reformed by 2027. I think was it Raymond? Was it you? Yeah, he's just mentioned that. I hadn't heard of any time scales on it. I mean, that is, obviously that's still 7 years away, but that's reasonably quickly to reform something like the BBC, because they've had their claws into their territory for such a long time. They would look at a time scale like that, and they would be bricking it. George, I'm sorry, George, I can't pronounce your name. He's just mentioned War of the Worlds disaster.
Yeah, War of the Worlds. I watched that, but I just want to send a special get well soon to Blue Bonahuvian, who's in the chat.
Oh, no.
Blue Bonahuvian is feeling under the weather, so I hope you get well very soon. I hate getting sick over the Christmas myself personally, because Christmas already is shitstorm, and then to get sick is not great. But get well soon.
Get well soon, Blue Bonnet.
We hope to see you on the panel soon. Anyway, there's a few people out there sick. So to anybody that's sick or is having a shitty time right now, I just want to say to you, things can only get better, as they say. Who sang that song?
That was
D-Ream.
That was D-Ream, yeah. I've noticed that George is also mentioning his woke materials here. I really like his dark materials. There are certain, I won't deny, there are certain elements where that strategy is in place, but I think his dark materials is quite good. And I'd be quite keen to see, I mentioned this on the Type 40 podcast recently, plug. I'd be quite keen to see Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter with their Bad Wolf production company, take the reins of Doctor Who and make it as an independent production and supply it back to the BBC as some sort of co-production, preferably with Amazon, as Bolstrek was mentioning. That would be the ideal co-producer, I think. But with BBC America in the picture, it's quite doubtful. They've probably got a stranglehold on that, but we can hope, because when that license fee goes, that strategy will go out of the window without question. And they will know this. They won't be able to operate on those, what would you call it, incentives with those kind of remits. They just won't. They'll have to play the game the way that Netflix and everybody else have to, and give people what they actually want to watch. At least listen to your audience. We're worth listening to. We're the audience. We are.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so depressed about who. I'm hoping Star Wars.
God.
It breaks me up always. Yeah.
Well,
the Rise of Skywalker, or the Last Skywalker, or the Last of Super A. Yeah, I'm not holding out any hopes. I mean, all these leaks are getting confirmed, which is absolutely great for the people behind
the Reddit leaks.
Given the information out there. There's a couple of YouTubers that have been working on the leaks, as well as the Reddit users as well. And they've gotten everything, looks like, spot on.
Oh, God.
And this is just going to make this movie, it's going to be worse well, actually, not to these YouTubers and people that are dealing with all these spoilers and stuff. But to everybody else, they're going to be shocked. This movie is just going to be a complete shit show.
I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah, I know. The thing about it is that the review videos are going to be absolutely epic. Everybody, I'm telling you, even the most staunch defender of this trilogy is not going to be happy. I mean, even the guy that played the Emperor has actually said. They've actually put an interview, and he asked George Lucas, was the Emperor dead? And he was dead. He died in the original trilogy. So the fact that they've actually dragged him back. Oh, and by the way, I seen a clip as well. The Millennium Falcon, they finally got it. They've burnt it. It's gone. It's destroyed. Disney have done what they wanted to do all along. Get all the old Star Wars stuff and destroy it. Destroy the old cast. Well, they've done it with the Millennium Falcon. So who else is next to go?
I just feel sorry for Billy D. Williams. I really do.
They're all gone. Yeah. They're all gone. And John Boyega doesn't seem to be happy either. Yeah, he's having a bit of a...
Definitely not happy. Yeah. Not a happy camper at all.
Not happy right now. Everything is falling apart. Kathleen Kennedy, I know you're not listening, but if this ever got to Kathleen Kennedy, all I just want to say to you, and I know it's not all you, but all I want to say to you is you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You have destroyed one of the best movie franchises out there. Even I have to put my hands up and say it's probably one of the best, and you have actually shit all over. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And everybody, and JJ coming back to try save this shit show, and then they probably wrote in poor George Lucas. The fact that George Lucas's name is on this shit as well actually kind of annoys me. And I'm not traditionally a Star Wars fan. I'm more of a Trekkie, but this kind of annoys me that his name is on this shit. And it looks like they've ripped off a scene. I've actually seen the footage. Some fan, because Star Wars fans are great, did a side-by-side comparison of a scene that they're supposed to be using in the Rise of Skywalker, and they've ripped off a comparison scene. They've just basically took a scene out that they didn't use, and they're basically sticking it. It's just ridiculous. Princess, just leave them alone. They're all dead. Just leave them. Bring them back as Force ghosts or whatever it is. They're bringing them back as, it's a joke.
No, given that what you were saying about Ghostbusters earlier on, about Ghostbusters 2020, and how they are rejecting, by the look of it, they're rejecting woke, or whatever you want to call it, wokeness.
Well, they rejected the whole existence of the movie.
It looks like it. And given the fact that Star Wars, it could be about to proper crash and burn.
Right.
How long do we think that if all these things happen, we start getting good films like Ghostbusters Afterlife, and other franchises turn away from their horrors, from the likes of Ghostbusters 2016. How long do you think that will take to filter down to Doctor Who?
I still think we're a few years away from a filter. You see, BBC is in the unique position that they could do whatever the hell they want, whereas these companies don't have that luxury for too long. For me personally, I think Joker was a turning point. People did say that Joker would be a turning point. I think that has become the turning point. Look at how successful it has become.
It wasn't even the film itself; it was the talk around it. How the political, whatever you want to call it, those political factions, they tried to target that film and make out there was going to be like shootings in cinemas, all that sort of thing. They tried to take it down, but they couldn't do it. So it will definitely represent something.
So I think it is changing, and if Ghostbusters Afterlife, the trailer looks good, as Ballstreck said earlier, that doesn't look like any wokeness in it. I'd even say the same about the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer. Now, I do think it's the Thunderbolt lightning scene part of the trailer is still a bit far-fetched and a bit cringy. But the rest of that trailer, I love New Order music myself, so already I'm kind of hooked. We had that little E.T. 4-minute trailer. I mean, look, there has been, as they would say, there has been new shoots of hope. If you've seen the things that have come out, little trailers and stuff like that. And the movie
stuff
Joker.
Stuff like Charlie's Angels being a complete and utter...
Yeah, exactly. So those things as well, and the Terminator Dark Fate, because there's supposed to be a whole franchise after that. Now that's supposed to be shelved now.
Actually, while I remember, Ballstrek, your videos on Dark Fate.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Your best work, sir.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
But it's just the destruction of all our and again in that movie, the way John Connor was treated in Terminator Dark Fate, I mean, it just goes to show you that there's no respect. That could have been done in a more respectful way, that whole scene, in fairness, right?
But they chose to do it at all.
But they chose to do it that way because that was basically, see the respect the Terminator showed John Connor? Absolutely none. That's exactly the way these people, that's the way these people feel about straight white males. Oh, not straight white males, all white males, toxic. We're all toxic, apparently. But that's saying, that hurt me. That hurt me. John Connor, they changed the whole law just so a woman can be the savior. I don't know what this mentality is. Look at, if you want women to be saviors of the universe and the world, all well and good, but don't do it at the expense of men. What is wrong? Look, we're evil. We're evil. Men is the new evil. And I'm seeing these posts. I even tagged Ballstreck one on Twitter. Some woman going on a rant about all of us, how she'll never be with a man because we're all toxic and that, and I just wrote up, that's a great advertisement for men not to go near you. So thanks very much for that, or something like that. He said, but it's ridiculous the way they go around. Not all men are bad. Yes, we do have a few bad apples, just like there's a few bad apples on the female side of things. You know what I mean? I don't mind them focusing on issues got to do with women if they focus on issues got to do with men as well and have a balance to it. But there's no balance in anything that they do. And Charlie's Angels, the new one, was a perfect example. But what did they do? Instead of actually backing off and saying, okay, we got it wrong, they hand her the Invisible Woman.
Yep.
Right? So they reward. So now Hollywood is actually rewarding failure, right? So they've handed her Invisible Woman.
But eventually somebody's going to have to answer for this on the Hollywood side, because you lose money. Why? And how out of these woke films, the only two that haven't been a complete disaster was The Last Jedi, because people didn't know what they were getting into until they saw it, and the other was Captain Marvel, because it was positioned right in between the Avengers movies. But every other one has been a complete catastrophe.
Yeah.
And I think on the Hollywood side, if they don't change course, then they're going to go bankrupt. So I think on the Hollywood side, we will see a change. On Doctor Who, we will never see a change unless the BBC becomes privatized because they aren't answerable.
Exactly.
It's run by ideologues. So, but if they're in a panic, like, oh, you're privatized, you're a streaming service now. Oh crap, nobody wants to watch this, and then it'll be like it works in the private market. The ideologues that destroyed the BBC will get fired, hopefully. And
that's what needs to happen, isn't it? We need a complete shakedown of the BBC. You need to get rid of everybody, but that's going to be impossible. It's going to be impossible. Well, some people do believe that this is the beginning of the end for BBC because, again, they faced a sort of a backlash. Now, I haven't seen much of it, so the Mirror reported it, or the Daily Mail reported it, so whether you take this with a pinch of salt or not, but I have seen some tweets. I would hardly call it a backlash, but maybe there is one. But apparently people are not happy with BBC's Christmas schedule because there's a lot of reboots and a lot of repeats, and a lot of people obviously are not happy. I mean,
it's the same schedule as the last, apart from Doctor Who. It's the exact same schedule as probably the last 5 years, I'd say.
Exactly, they haven't changed it up. Same movies as well. So apparently they're being accused. Where's the license fee money? Where is it going now? So there is people starting to ask questions. The problem is...
Have you seen Gary Lineker's new car?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You look at the money that they're on. Should we expose the money that they were on? Should Jodie Whittaker is getting paid the same as Peter Capaldi, but doing less work? I mean, that's what's happened at the BBC.
Less work. They did 11 episodes in 2 years. Exactly.
And I mean... That's the thing about when she talks about equality and empowerment of women. Well, fine, but like, if you want to be treated as an equal, then I'm sorry, you must. Peter Capaldi is way older than you, and he was able to throw out a series every year. What's your excuse, Jodie Whittaker? You can't use the woman excuse because you're a woman, or you're physically not able to do it, because apparently, you're all about equality, so you shouldn't be moaning about stuff like that. So what's your excuse? And what's Chris Chibnall's excuse?
Well, I blame Chris Chibnall for that.
Is he really that stupid? No, but is he really that stupid that or does he have writer's block or something?
Because he's what we call, well, he's a prick, really, isn't he? Let's be honest.
That's the best description I've heard.
Yeah, he is. I say it all the time. I was going
to expand on it, but no, there's no point in really going any deeper than that. It is that simple.
Seriously, do you know what I call J-Bot's planks? He's the biggest one of them all because he has nothing between that head except sawdust. Because this is a man that can't actually write Doctor Who. I guarantee the reason why he takes so long is he just be scrolling the internet, looking around on the internet, cherry picking people's ideas, robbing them, and say, oh, I can make that better, and ends up making it all shit. Fella can't write, and seriously, even these Doctor Who episodes before he became showrunner, there's not one episode that I actually really enjoyed, and every single one of them, and I keep saying it, but it's true, every single one of them, countdown, because you know what? Yeah, exactly.
Although it's like all the Star Trek The Next Generation movies as well, they all end with a countdown. That's always driven me nuts.
Yeah, and the screwdriver always saves the day. Yeah,
that's why that's why John Nathan Turner got rid of it for 5 years.
Yeah, I don't mind the screwdriver when it's used sparingly, but when it's used all the time, it kind of loses its magic, in my opinion. And the way Jodie Whittaker holds her screwdriver, for starters, and the way she extends her arm. And did you see her running? I said it the last time when we watched the trailers, but you remember her running after that plane? That was the funniest thing. Oh, I don't even think she tried.
That was my thumbnail.
It's pure Mr. Bean stuff,
isn't it?
When you see her doing that, I mean, you both mentioned it earlier on. It looks like learnt behaviour. She knows that the Doctor waves this around because I've seen it in a picture somewhere that you do this. There's no thought behind it whatsoever. She's not telling herself that what this device is actually doing, the weight of responsibility in any of the actions that she's partaking in. It's just run in that direction, Jody, and look over there. What? Where? And it just looks like mayhem. Like I say, I feel that we've got 9. I mean, the other day, somebody was talking to me about this, talking about the schedule for recording of the next block for my podcast, and they were saying, "How are you going to do it? Because the episode screens on Sundays. When you're going to be recording, blah blah blah." And they said, "Oh, this does mean that with the first 2 being on so close to one another, that you'll be able to sort of cover them both in the same episode." And I thought, oh yeah, it's only 9 weeks of agony rather than 10. I was actually pleased that it wasn't going to last quite so long.
Yeah.
What is going on?
And then he's going to make us wait then until Christmas or New Year's Day to drop that special.
Daleks.
Actually, we've got a half an hour left. And I actually wanted to ask you, because Chris Chibnall, as you know, has actually decided to open his big mouth, and he's actually going around and he's actually doing some interviews. So the ego,
that's why
is
I
out
called him
and
that
about.
name. Yeah.
So here's one, right? So he came out. Obviously, we have all seen that footage and the photographs of the Dalek, right, and the Daleks. Now he has been quoted as saying in interviews that the Daleks will not be returning for Series 12. So that means then he's basically confirming that these Daleks are going to appear in the special, because we do know that another special was filmed. So, and we have seen the Daleks on the bridge. So we know that they're going to appear. Now, here's the thing. If they appear in Series 12, right, does he really think fans are that stupid? We've seen the Daleks with their own eyes. We've seen the footage, Chris Chibnall. So, but the thing about it is he doesn't confirm, right? Now, they have to appear because we all know that there's supposed to be this deal in place. And I know it's never been spoken about.
It's never been spoken about, but we 15 all years later, we know it's a fact.
Yeah, we know because the Daleks have appeared in nearly every series. You're right, Walsh.
No, they have. Even if it's just a throwaway, like at the end of Series 5, they have appeared at least once a year.
Yeah. So
well, how they're gonna get around it this time, don't you? It'll be a cliffhanger ending to Series 12. That'll lead.
Yeah, of course it will with the Daleks. Yeah, that's what I reckon it's going to be. Yeah,
it only has to be a couple of minutes. So if you remember the episode for Series 10, the pilot, it was called, wasn't it? If you remember that, 2 minutes. That's all it takes to keep the nation state happy.
And I think he's doing, I think it's 2 faction Daleks. So again, something that has been done before in the classic era. The two Dalek factions. It looks like there's going to be 2 Dalek factions in this one, because there was clearly the bronze ones that we're used to, and there was those new Daleks, and that new Dalek was destroyed by the original Daleks in the 2005, or the ones that we're used to, basically. But what is our thoughts? I mean, we know the Daleks are coming back. I mean, why do you think he's denying this? Even though it just seems stupid to me. Does he think it's going to be that we're all going to be surprised? Because I'm not surprised. I won't be surprised. Well,
I think that's where he's going with it. He's trying to recreate Series 2 with the Dalek Cybermen cliffhanger. I'm like, dude, that was done 13 years ago.
Yeah, and even that was a bit of a cringe. I didn't like that. I didn't like those 2 episodes, actually, with the Cybermen. I didn't like that whole scene.
I was surprised at the time, but I don't think they were. Well, I think Series 2 was the weakest of the RTD era anyway. Yeah. But at the time, there was the shock factor.
Yeah. I like some episodes in Series 2. Series 4 is his best. RTD's best, I think. Series 4 and Series 1.
Yeah, he went out on a high.
He went out on a... Well, the specials weren't really... Well...
Well, I don't really call. I always considered the specials.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I consider them separate, even though they're technically part of the same production block.
Yeah, I didn't mind. What was the first one? Yeah, the something planet. What was it called?
Planet
of the Dead.
Oh, the Planet of the Dead. Yeah, and then we had the was it the Waters of Mars after
Waters
that?
of
Yeah,
Mars.
Waters of Mars.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that
the best one. And then we had the End of Time Part 1 and 2. That's what it was. Yeah.
And
Waters of Mars
technically,
was
the
definitely-
next Doctor was part of that as well.
Yeah.
It was the last episode shot in standard depth, so it doesn't quite go together with the other ones. But yeah, I look at those 5 as being one separate series.
I love that comment by Gary. Jody will defeat the Daleks by asking them super nicely this time. Yeah. Even that same where she tells them the scanner, and it doesn't. She tells the Dalek the scanner or something, and then she tries to be sinister, and it just comes across so stupid. Oh, get away! Even that little somersault that she does is cringy as well. I just don't know. There were so many better choices out there. Jesus Christ, a plank of wood would have been better. Seriously.
Is it possible to enjoy, saying the miracle happens?
Right, and it's actually good.
And Series 12 has got a couple of decent scripts in.
Right.
Is it possible to enjoy everything that's going on around the lead character and sort of almost imagine that she's not there? I don't think it is with Doctor Who.
No, because she's so central.
Exactly. That's what it is. And I agree. I mean, even with Kablam worked because she wasn't actually in it that much.
It was the only one that almost felt like actual Doctor Who. Too.
Yeah. If she's not in it that much, which would be very interesting if she's not actually in Series 12 that much.
We need to bring back the Doctor Light episodes.
9 weeks of them.
Yeah.
But with Kablam, interesting you mentioned Kablam because it's we talk about this a lot. I think most people would say that is the best episode of Series 11. There's no great hurdle there. But throughout that episode, I was thinking about it the other day, and one of the reasons why I think it stands out in my memory is it's the only episode out of all 11, including Resolution, that surprised me in any way, plot-wise. All the others, within 3 or 4 minutes of them starting, you could work out who was who and where that story was going to go, particularly in light of the politics. Whereas with Kablam, it did. I wasn't expecting certain plot developments to happen in that. But in the average, Starry-Eyed Girl was saying this to me, in the average series of Doctor Who, it wouldn't have stood out at all. It would probably have been, but in that season, because it actually had something to say and had a bit of teeth to it, and it also killed off a couple of people that you had a certain amount of empathy for. Lee Mack's character wasn't particularly memorable, but here I am over a year on. And I can remember quite a lot about that episode, even though I only watched it twice.
Yeah.
I haven't gone back and watched any of Series 11 in over a year, gentlemen. Have either of you?
No, as I said, I really can't get past the first 15 minutes of the woman who fell to Earth. As soon as she comes on the screen, that's it. I'm done. When she crashes through that train and she tries to tell a joke, when she tries to be all jokey and stuff and then be serious, that clip that was leaked, do you remember? It was actually as bad as I remember. No, I can't get past the first 15 minutes. And with that, I think it's the first time. Actually, it is the first time that I've never rewatched the series of Doctor Who. I won't rewatch it. Here's a question, actually, because Gary actually asked me this, and this was a great question, actually. And he asked me on this channel, which was actually great. I actually got asked the question for a change. But the question he asked, if Series 12 was a huge improvement on Series 11, and they actually did things I liked, would it bring me back to Doctor Who? And I said at the time, and I still believe it's the same. It doesn't matter what BBC do for Series 12, as far as I'm concerned. Until Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker is gone, Doctor Who doesn't exist for me right now. It doesn't matter if Series 12 is an improvement. They did all their damage in Series 11, and all the rhetoric that came out of their mouths last year before the series dropped. The video that Jody did, and Pierce Wenger himself personally attacking Peter Capaldi. and our predecessors.
Shocking.
And also, let's not forget certain members of this fandom. Well, they call themselves fans, but they're not fans. Actually made a former doctor leave Twitter in Peter Davison. So no, it doesn't matter for me personally. It doesn't matter what BBC do now with Doctor Who. Until Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker are gone, and until I see an improvement in stories, then I'm going. You know what I mean? I'm not done with Doctor Who, but my passion for it is completely gone. So I want to ask you two guys, if Series 12 is an improvement, will you be able to forgive and forget the BBC and actually get behind this era of Doctor Who?
I'll let you go first, Dan.
Thank you. Will I be able to forgive? No, because it's more than what's on screen. It's you said a moment ago, Noel. Does Chris Chibnall think we're stupid? Yes.
Yeah.
Is the answer. He does. In fact, while Doctor Who was away from publicity and people were wondering what was going on while it was being filmed, and there was no interviews really, nothing was said, nothing was coming from behind that curtain. And you get to a point where you think it would be nice if you could hear something about the show from somebody involved during the making of it. But as soon as the cast and crew of this show start speaking, you immediately wish they would stop. And every single interview that Chris Chibnall gives now, there is some
arrogance
and belittling. I mean, to be fair to him, he hasn't quite gone as far as Ryan Johnson. He hasn't berated his fan base yet, but it probably is coming. But yeah, everything he says, it's quite embittered. It's quite snidey towards anybody who's been watching the show for longer than 3 years. I will not forget the fact that the BBC gave this show lock, stock and barrel creatively to a man like this, who appears to have such a thin take on the show that he had to, he changed the gender of the character to make it critic proof. No other reason. There's no personal politics really behind it on his part. He's manipulating feminists just like he's manipulating the rest of us. He's a charlatan. He's no creative force. He believes in doing as little work as he possibly can over as long a period of time. And it's that whole, to say this is still supposed to be a flagship and a prestige show, they're not treating it like it. So creatively, yes, Doctor Who can go anywhere. And all these, and we've had so many different flavours of Doctor Who over the decades. Maybe in 5 years' time, this will be a distant memory. Story-wise, these will just be 20-odd episodes that you need never watch again. But they will always be there, and I can forget about those stories, particularly as I get older. I'm starting to forget all sorts now. So I'm sure I'll forget some of these details. I've already blotted out a lot of Series 11, but I will never forget this, and I will never be able to forgive Jodie Whittaker for saying that about the white male gaze. She may apologise, but I think it's again unlikely. It's a no. It's a no from me, gentlemen.
Yeah, no, it's a no for me as well. Nothing that this iteration of the show could possibly do will ever bring me back. And they couldn't anyway because of the lead actress, who just simply isn't capable of it. But this was an insult to, I know Noel and I go back to the original series. I think, do you as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so we're all classic series
I've been
fans.
watching since 76.
I
moisturize everybody. I moisturize.
I've been watching since my first memory is one of my first memories is watching Doctor Who when I was 2, and this would have been 1980. So I've been through, I can remember every regeneration from Tom Baker to Peter Davison. And we've all been fans of the show for decades, for most of our lives. We've supported the show. We supported the show while it was away. We bought Big Finish. We bought the books. We bought the merchandise. We were the reason that the show came back. We gave it the initial push to make it become a worldwide phenomenon. And all of Series 11 in this entire regime has basically been shitting on us, telling us that we don't matter. We are not welcome anymore. So in terms of, and also the fan base. Like, Doctor Who has always been, like most sci-fi fan bases, we used to argue about, which Doctor was best and which episodes sucked. And well, I guess everybody agrees that the Twin Dilemma was crap. But other than that, it used to be debate. This regime of the show, and it started to change a little bit during the final Moffat years, but this regime of the show has turned Doctor Who fandom into the most toxic fan base I have ever seen. And I'd say most of the classic series fans, and I think a lot of people that came on with the new series as well, have left. So when you go on to Twitter groups, if you go into, my comments section, you go onto a certain forum whose name I will not mention, but used to be, where everybody, 10 years ago, this is where everybody went to talk about Doctor Who.
They hate me there. Hello, if you know me from Gallifrey Base.
We mentioned the name, and maybe, if you guys would change your tact, then you wouldn't be begging for money every time I log in, which is very rare now.
But it's same here.
Yeah, but it's these, all that's left are the nastiest people I have ever run into online, and the normal people are gone because they don't want to debate these psychotic ideologues. Is all I can call them. Is the only description I have for them. So he's destroyed the show, but he's destroyed the fan base, and a lot of fans will never come back. Half because of the show, but half because of the fan base. It's really sad, but this is a time when it's not fun to be a Doctor Who fan. And I don't know, Noel, did you see the tweet that Gary Russell put up a few weeks ago?
I probably did. I'll probably put it up on my Twitter, but remind me.
I've got it here. I sent it to Gary in a text. Okay, so he's a public figure. So in terms of my own censorship, he is...
Well, he's open the game.
Yeah, he's open. So Gary Russell ran Big Finish Productions from its founding in 1998 until he left in 2007. And Nicholas Briggs has been running it ever since. You'll notice that Nicholas Briggs, even though he has, he's appeared in Series 11, I don't think I've ever heard him attack fans, ever.
Not once.
But this has soured me a little bit to Big Finish, and this I'm pissed off. I was pissed off with, because I've supported Big Finish since the beginning, and he made a lot of money off me over the years, and I say, thank God he's no longer involved. But this was the tweet. So this was November 29th. Followed today by someone who amongst their profile likes Doctor Who 1963 to 2017. My finger is currently hovering over the block the bigot button.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It's garbage like this. This is what's come out of it. And this is why so many fans will not come back. And Big Finish... Most people that subscribe to Big Finish, there might be a few exceptions, but most do not like the current regime of the Doctor, because Big Finish is primarily classic Who, with David Tennant doing a series once a year. So this is just an example of the type of, I hate to use the word, but toxicity that we're facing. And this is why it's not fun to be a Doctor Who fan anymore. This is somebody that made a lot of money off a lot of people for 9 years. And because we don't like the show, we're bigots. Even though it's perfectly reasonable to not like a show for reasons other than the gender. Whereas if somebody were to come out and say, I don't like Jodie Whittaker because she's a woman, I don't like Brie Larson because she's a woman, well then, yes, by definition, they are bigots. But most people are not coming out and saying that we don't like Jodie Whittaker or Brie Larson because of their gender. We don't like them because they are hateful people, male or female. So it's... And I still love the classic series. I don't know if I can ever bring myself to like New Who again. And I was someone who was classic and New Who obsessed. Like, you should see my DVD set for Series 1. If it were a VHS collection, I would have worn it out 3 or 4 times by now. But it's not fun. And a lot of people don't even want to post about the show, because you post anything negative about Series 11, and then all of a sudden you're a sexist, you're a racist, you're a a bigot, whatever. And even if it's constructive criticism, like, you can criticize the stories, which all 11 of them have been dreadful. You can criticize Whittaker's acting without even talking about gender. which I think if you take gender out of it and you compare it to everybody who has played the Doctor, even, if you want to say throw Peter Cushing into it, she pales in comparison to everybody that has played the Doctor. And that's not gender, because there are, like we said, there are women that can play the Doctor.
These people do make it about gender. See, they say we make it about gender, but they're the ones that make it about gender. We only talk about her acting, and we talk about the lack of screen presence.
And the ideology.
You criticize the art. I mean, if anything, it's this lady, this woman, who has made it, who has got personal with us, not the other way around. And just before you leave the subject, Bolstrek, that post of Gary Russell's, did you follow that whole chat as it was rolling on afterwards?
Yep.
Did you see how Ed Russell, of all people, who was very, very left-wing, Ed Russell, who was the former brand manager for Doctor Who until about a year ago, wasn't he? He's now on the convention circuit. Yeah. He stepped in defending the guy who Gary was about to block, defending fans like us. I don't know Ed Russell. Simon knows. Simon from who's on the Type 40 podcast all the time with me, Noel. Simon knows Gary Russell. Because Simon's been in fandom for even longer than I have. But Ed Russell stepped in and said that was how unfair it was for Gary to dismiss people like that, and that people have legitimate complaints. Ed Russell, reading between the lines, because I've seen him say 3 or 4 things now. Mr. Corporate BBC, he was there from Russell T Davies right the way through until about 18 months ago. He said things, if you follow him, dropping little things out here and there, he is not a happy camper either.
I think a lot of upper management that have been there for longer than 5 years, those that were not handed jobs because of the inclusion list. Well, the one thing that I keep thinking, when that quote came out, Nicholas Briggs must have been shitting himself, because Gary Russell is tightly wound with Big Finish. He still does the occasional thing, but if you listen to, and I don't listen to all their podcasts, but I've never heard Nicholas Briggs disparage Doctor Who fans. And he seems to make a special effort to avoid the subject altogether.
He's only addressed it once. I listen to their shows all the time, Bolstrek, and he's only addressed it once. And it was not long after Resolution was shown. Because obviously Nick Briggs wasn't involved much in the last. He's not been involved much in the.
Yeah, he was in Resolution. He was the Dalek.
He was the Dalek voice in Resolution.
And about 2 weeks after that, I think it was on the Benji and Nick show, which is the one that's obviously a step away. That's on his own website, the Benji and Nick show. People had been on his Facebook page, his own, not his like family and friends one, but his proper page, his business page, and they had pretty much sort of. The way that some fans can be a bit, pulling him up about it. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? How bad the episode was? And he stopped, he stopped this podcast, which wasn't actually about Doctor Who, dead in its tracks, and spoke directly to the people who'd been on his page, trying to sort of call him out. Right. And what he said, well, look, I won't try and quote him because it's been nearly a year ago, and it wouldn't be fair on the man. But his general philosophy was, well, look, regardless of how I'd feel or don't feel about it, this is something that I'm involved with creatively. You're entitled to your opinion. This is a public space. This is something that I'm involved with. It's my profession. Even if I could,
I say he isn't happy really deep down. But
he asked them to pipe down
because
he said, what he said was basically, I can't give you any answer one way or another.
Yeah, exactly.
He was so diplomatic, and he was so sweet and humble about it.
But that's the way to do it. If Jodie Whittaker, I've always said, if Jodie Whittaker had come out and been friendly to this fandom from the beginning, right, and actually had said the right things, okay, we would have seen that she was out of sorts in the role, right, but she wouldn't be getting much criticism. It'd be all aimed at Chris Chibnall, in my opinion.
Well, do you boys remember that very first interview? I don't think it's the first interview, actually, but that first quote that she gave, "Don't fear my gender."
That was the first
you
line
read that now,
and
that statement that she put out. That's quite human. Yeah. It's quite nice. It's quite reasonable, and it's quite inclusive. But something happened something happened in that 12-month period.
Yeah.
When, I don't know if she was hothoused at BBC Wales with Chibs and all these others slapping each other on the back, and something happened that changed her philosophy and her attitude.
It was the beginning of the backlash. That's what did it. And I guess I may have been part of that because I started speaking out right after the casting was made, and I was at the time one of the larger YouTube channels covering it. But it was people speaking out against the decision, and they weren't even attacking her attacking her gender. They were saying, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah,
and I think that's where this came from.
Yeah,
that's
my theory. That's what happened.
But Chibnall had already assembled his writers then, and the scripts were already, he'd been putting those scripts together for a long time.
He'd already put the scripts together. Sure, he'd put a quote out to say that the scripts were already made, but his script writers didn't know that they were actually writing for a female lead. He told them after the fact. They actually found out when Whittaker was actually cast, and then they had to make tweaks to the scripts to obviously include the female agenda.
Because he chose ideologues as his writers, and they were I think outside of Pete McTeague, every writer in Series 11 is an ideologue. So he knew where he was going with it. But I think, they all initially thought they were writing for Capaldi because everybody, I think, including Capaldi, thought he was staying. And then he was exited, is my view on that. And then I think the scripts were tweaked. Like the Witchfinders, for example, that one, it's hard to... That obviously had a lot of alterations because you cannot really... picture Peter Capaldi running off feminist talking points, but I think there were a lot of changes. But his modus operandi was ideology from the beginning.
I tell you, I just don't see Series 12 being an improvement, to be honest. I look at, I've already predicted that I think the first episode will do well, and it will determine how the episode ends and how good story writing actually is. But it is being written by Chris Chibnall, so I don't know. For me, when I see his name, someone even mentioned it earlier in the live comments. When you see Chris Chibnall has written the episode, you know it's not going to be great. And I agree with that assessment, because nothing that he has given us, that he has written himself without anybody looking over his shoulder, has been shocking.
You're talking earlier on about how we're having to we were talking about how we're having to make our own fun as Doctor Who fans, really, because the show isn't fun anymore.
No.
If any of you are, I know you both like the classic show. I've been watching this. I'm halfway through it. This is the Nabil Shaban Sil and the Devil Seeds of Arador. I'm 2 episodes into this 4-part story. This is far from perfect, don't get me wrong, but the spirit of classic Doctor Who, and even sort of new Doctor Who, really is alive and well in this, for all its low-budget glory.
Which company made that?
This is Real Time Productions. This is Keith Barnfather. And it's put out. It's on Kosh Media. I was lucky enough to get this free, but so I'll be reviewing this at a later date somewhere. But it is a bit slow, the way that classic Doctor Who can always be.
Like that.
It is much, much, much better written. Yeah, you spend time with the characters. You soak it all in, and the minimalistic nature of it just works so much better. It's engrossing compared to Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who. And to be honest, there's lots. All the best Doctor Who at the moment is being done off television in Big Finish. And to be fair to them, even Titan Comics, they're just publishing the 13th Doctor comic at the moment. Jodie Whittaker, who's writing that, in my opinion, she's a better writer than anybody Chris Chibnall's got on the show at the moment. So, make your own fun, but unfortunately, you've got to spend money to go and sample all this stuff, or extra money on top of your license fee. But,
At least I don't have to pay the license fees. So I'm like, the Big Finish is more expensive over here. So I've got to I have to renew my subscription. I just do downloads now. I haven't done CDs since they started downloads, I think in
But I'm going to try and get more behind all this stuff and more behind. If they want to do some more Sil stuff or with any other characters, I get more and more behind that. Not buy any of the Jody merchandise. Not that there's that much of it. Anything that's sort of branded like that, show them.
Which is everything now.
Yeah, those big finish sets for the figures, the way those flew off the shelves, get those selling every time they put them out.
Exactly.
Shift them, buy them. Get behind all these independent projects if you can, because obviously some of these things, they aren't cheap to get behind. That's my advice. And then the BBC will see one way or another, oh, people will buy that, but they won't buy that. And eventually, maybe the penny may drop. Maybe in time for next Christmas.
Here's the thing. By the time the penny drops, Dan, me, you and Ballstrek will probably fucking have Zimo frames and be wearing fucking prescription fucking glasses and can't even see the fucking screen anymore.
I'm already at that point now.
So we're screwed. We won't see. BBC are not going to change anytime soon unless there's a complete strip down of management. Seriously, everybody has to go, but that's never going to happen.
Well, you've said it, mate. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of the end. I'm sure it is, and that's we could be like this. I was disappointed when I heard that both Chibnall and Whittaker were back for a third run. I was quietly gutted, but it's better to know about these things in advance, isn't it? And they can't spoil Christmas forever, can they? Or New Year?
No, it's well, give us content. I guess that's about the only good thing.
Well, we have the animations.
YouTube doesn't obliterate us first.
Well, we have the animations as well to look forward to. Is anybody actually looking forward, just before we finish up, because I know Ballstrek has to bullet off, and I'm actually going to bullet off myself and have an early one tonight. But is anybody actually looking forward to the animation releases? Because we have actually some of those to look forward to.
Yep. They're not perfect, but this will be the closest that we get to ever seeing these episodes, unless something gets dug up. And now the one thing that pisses me off is we only get them on DVD in Region 1, and they now have that logo, so I have to reprint covers anyway. So that's a gripe. I guess I could import the Region 2, but that would cost a small fortune. But there are multiple options because I'm working my way through the Macro Terror right now. That you've got the color reconstruction, the black and white reconstruction. You also have telesnap reconstructions on there as well if you want to see the original. Very light on extras though,
right?
Which sucks. But
come here, that big scene that what's his face was giving out about. Ian Levine, wasn't he giving out about a particular scene in the Macro Terror that was left out?
Yeah, they've left the whole scene out.
Yeah. Have you gotten to that part yet? And do you think it does leave a big hole in the story?
I haven't gotten to it yet, no. Yeah. So I'm just at episode 1.
Well, do you know what? Believe it or not, the wife actually ordered the Macro Terror and Shada for me, right, on Amazon.
Actually, Shada's worth seeing. I've
watched it. It's very good. I actually like it.
Yeah, and that one as well. And I've got both versions of Shada. I've got the original release with the Tom Baker inserts. I think that set also. I could be wrong, but I think that set also has the original Tom Baker narrated editions from 1993, which is always the way I'm used to seeing it. Yeah, but the animation, it was actually because I've been watching Shada at least once a year since it came out in 93. I got the original VHS, but it was nice to be able to see this series finally completed. And even though Tom Baker himself, I believe he wasn't doing the voice. I can't remember what his name was, but you can't really tell the difference. But yeah, Shada, it's a shame that story wasn't completed because it's like I said, it's worth watching.
It is worth watching. Now, I will say, and I'm going to be honest, because when I watched it, it's not the most spectacular story, but I actually thought the way they incorporated the footage with the animation on it, because that's the one I seen, if that's the one you are actually talking about, it was actually very well put together. But I actually, Ballstrek, I'd have to disagree with you. I actually did notice the difference in the voices. I actually thought the end, especially the animation parts, I actually thought that was I thought that was Tom Baker himself. It was his voice.
Shada.
Because I did
fourth
notice the differences.
Doctor.
I don't know about you, Dan, but I actually did notice the difference.
I haven't seen the new version yet, but I have got Ian Levine's version.
It was Tom Baker. It's the Ian Levine version I was thinking of.
That's
Tom Baker. Yeah,
there you go. Because you can, if you watch it back, Ballstrek, you actually know that it's the older Tom Baker that's actually doing the voice for the animations, because it's not quite in sync with the younger Tom Baker, but it's still very. Look, for me,
actually, it come to think of it,
it was nostalgia.
That DVD set has a clip of Tom Baker wearing the scarf doing a scene.
Yeah. Very, very good. No, but it brought back some nostalgia. And I'm glad, you know what? I'm glad Tom Baker has decided to embrace Doctor Who again. It's just a pity he didn't do it a lot sooner, in fairness, though.
Well, he's been doing Big Finish for years. What was it, 2012?
Yeah, 2012 he came back,
I think he's done more on Big Finish than he actually did on screen now. But yeah, it's a shame that we didn't have him for, the first 14 years they were doing audios, because that would have been awesome. But he did finally decide to do it eventually. And, and I don't know if you've heard the David Tennant Big Finish releases, but wow, it's especially with the two series with him and Catherine Tate, it's like 10 years hasn't gone by, and they even managed to capture Murray Gold's score perfectly. I think that's almost And I have a feeling Tom Baker might be, or David Tennant might be the only new Who Doctor that we hear for a while on Big Finish, because Christopher Eccleston will never do it.
And you actually asked Peter Capaldi yourself, didn't you?
When I met him, that was one of the questions. Are you planning to do Big Finish anytime soon? And it's not on his radar for now. He wants to do other things. I have a feeling he's bitter.
It's because
over the way he was let go.
I think so, and I think it's a lot got to do with the fact that Jodie Whittaker is still the Doctor, because he's still a decent kind of guy.
Yeah.
He knows his Big Finish. He doesn't want to upstage her, and that's the type of guy that he is.
Yep.
And he was, I don't care, and I still maintain this to this day, and people have said, again, you're just being, over dramatic. He was fired. And it's
almost guaranteed.
What's weird about it?
Have you both heard this then? Because I heard a little bit about it a while ago, and I did just sort of, but the whispers of it, they keep coming back. And so, you both obviously have heard a lot more than I have.
Well, you see, here's the thing. Me and Ballstrek both seen an article. I still think I have the video up on my channel. I had to take down a lot of videos because of this copyright nonsense. But I did have a video. Me and Ballstrek did read an article where Peter Capaldi said at the time when Chris Chibnall was announced, he came out with an interview and he said he was looking forward to working with Chris Chibnall. He'd worked on him with Broadchurch, with the Torchwood, and he had a great time on that, and he couldn't wait to get stuck in, that Chris Chibnall was a great writer and all this. 3 weeks later, he was on BBC Radio 4 or whatever it was on Joe Riley, and he broke down crying, and he said he was leaving the role of Doctor Who. That was in the space of 3 weeks. It was literally 3 weeks.
I think it was 6.
Was it?
It was 6 weeks, but it was still a very short period of time. And I was going to make a video on it, because if you go back into the archives of my channel, I did a video when Chibs took over. I was going to make a video on Capaldi saying that he was going to stay for, I think it was the same thing as Matt Smith. He wanted to do at least 5 years. And then, Matt Smith, that ended prematurely as well.
Yeah, well, he actually admits that he regrets leaving, actually, Matt Smith. And I think he went at the right time, to be honest.
Yeah, I think 3 years works well.
Yeah.
Because we've only had 2 doctors that stayed longer than 3 years, but it was, we're looking at the 70s for the most part. And it was a different time. And, Tom Baker was a tour de force. Yeah. But say for instance, if David Tennant had done 7 years, who many people consider to be the equal of Tom Baker, that's debatable on one side or the other. But if I know. Well, I'm just saying what is spoken.
Yeah, no, you're often. Right.
He did propel or bring the show back into the stratosphere. The level of popularity is even. But if if David Tennant had stayed for 7 years, then his final season would have been series 8.
Mm.
And would he still have the magic by then?
No.
I don't know. You get burned out.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I think a 3-year stint is probably just about right. With Jodie Whittaker, we're hoping it's not a 3-year stint. Obviously, that rumor still isn't gone away because obviously they are in interviews saying that they're sticking around.
It's going to be 3 years. A, she wants to double down. B, her ego will not let her leave or not let her tenure be a shorter period of time than every male aside from Colin Baker and Christopher Eccleston.
Or they probably power played the BBC, the both of them, and she's demanded more money or something.
Well, also, guys, it's quite a cushy little gig, isn't it? I mean, she's only having to, one series every year and a half, 10 episodes, 11, a special here and there.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice payday.
Yeah.
What was that point you were trying to make there, Baldstrick, before I cut across you, though? You were going to make a good point there, and then I
the early Alzheimer's. I forget this. Does anybody remember what I was going to say?
Oh, I'm sorry about that, man. It's just I wanted to link in what you said because it was about the article, wasn't it? The
article. Yeah, no, it's we knew it was there, but that article has been scrubbed from the internet. It was a Radio Times article. It is now nowhere to be found. I've been trying to find it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Because there are archives here and there. There are people who save that kind of thing, aren't there?
Yeah. I've even looked through that. I can't find it anywhere.
Well, here's the thing. I did a video on it now. I don't know if I actually took down the video, but I actually did put. I listened to that radio interview even, and he's literally devastated. This is not a man that willingly gave up.
I listened to that.
And see that line. I chose, though, wherever it was, I let you go. That line was inserted in deliberately because there was already rumours flying around that he was forced out. So that line was forced upon him, in my opinion. I chose to let you go. No, you didn't. And he's the kind of man that will never, ever discuss it, I don't think.
And they also forced him to make gender comments in his last 2 episodes. Or his last 3 episodes. Where Time Lords have no concept of gender. We at that point, I think, then that was in.
The writing was on the wall then.
It was the season or the series finale, the series 10. So it's they forced him to do that, and I don't think
he would have stayed
agreed with what they did with. Well, look at the episode he was forced to go out on, Twice Upon a Time, an episode that shit all over William Hartnell, and there is no way Peter Capaldi, the lifetime Doctor Who fan, whose first Doctor was William Hartnell, would have agreed to that.
I know.
It's difficult to credit, isn't it, that any of them, Gatiss, Moffat. You wonder where Moffat was coming from with it, but a few cheap laughs. There's another hour's worth of bitching to be done about that. Isn't there?
I think Twice Upon a Time. Now that I've had a few years to think it over, I think that entire episode was forced on Moffat.
Yeah, I agree.
But he was up against it, wasn't he? He was up against it. He had to pull it out of his backside, really.
I think Chibs had more to do with that than we think because they were going to change the gender of the Doctor. So even though officially he didn't have any involvement, I think that was under the table, directed by Chibs. That's the only thing that makes sense.
See, here's the thing, though. Chris Chibnall, the reason why we got Twice Upon a Time, in fairness, was because
he didn't have time to do the freaking Christmas special.
He didn't have time to do the Christmas special. So Stephen Moffat actually had to change the end of the series 10 to accommodate this Christmas special. And Peter was already gone. Peter actually came back to do this, and then when he came up with the idea, it was his suggestion to get David Bradley to play why don't we just bring David Bradley back? Sure, he played the first Doctor in that movie, which was a good idea in principle. It's just, I agree with Baldstrick. I don't even think that was a Moffat script.
Well, the whole thing when you watch, you have to watch it back, you only have to think back to it, and it all seems a bit make, do, and mend. Here's a hole. We need to find 60 minutes worth of Doctor Who from somewhere, but we've already it's the equivalent of trying to jam another story in between the War Games Part 10 and Spear from Space Part 1. It feels that much of a, you could spirit the Doctor away. I mean, they did it in comic strips, didn't they?
There's the whole mystery
Scarecrow.
Season, but
yeah.
Well,
that's the equivalent of.
This is what I was going to say, though. If you look at that Twice Upon a Time, right? That was the first Moffat episode, if I remember correctly, if it was written by him even, that there wasn't actually any real threat. And then you go and look at Series 11. So Series 11 had the same theme running right through it. There was supposed to be a threat, but there wasn't really a threat there. So
here's
maybe Chibnall did influence that script an awful lot, because there just seems to be too many elements.
My theory goes beyond that, because I have watched it since. Right. I think that script was ghost written by Chibs. If you look at the style, it's his writing all over it.
Yeah,
and obviously they wouldn't be able to put on Moffat's final episode written by Chris Chibnall, but I think he ghost wrote the episode. And you have to give Peter Capaldi a lot of respect for coming back for that, because obviously I'm fairly certain he was fired. He did not have to come back. Colin Baker didn't come back for his regeneration scene after he got screwed.
Exactly.
But I think that just speaks to what type of person he was.
Colin Baker has come out and said he regrets that now, but they all seem to regret years later, don't they? Why didn't you just do it, you big baby? Fair enough, you got back class.
A few tunes have changed in the last 30 years, haven't they? I mean, Sylvester McCoy was dead against the female Doctor until about 4 years ago. Funny that, isn't it?
Actually, no. He was against it when the casting was made. He shut up right after he saw what happened to Peter Davison. But
it was that late.
There were a few articles on it, but he saw what happened to Peter Davison on Twitter, and then he just shut up.
He shut up. They all shut up then. See, that's what happened after Peter Davison was attacked and he left Twitter. The rest of them actually played it. Let's say they played it safe. When they were asked those questions, they'd play it safe. They'd give the political answer, and that's the way they've all done it now. And it is a shame that you can't actually come out. And it doesn't matter what show or movie franchise it is, you're not allowed to have any sort of negative opinion. You have to follow everybody else and say that this is great. Well, I'm sorry, it's not. And unless, and as long as it's still shit, we will still criticize it. If you just want it, look, all we ask for and all we've always said as Doctor Who fans is we just want good writing, good characters with good character arcs, and something that excites us. Series 11 definitely did not excite me anyway. I don't think, and Chris Chibnall is already bigging up Series 12 because his ego is so big anyway, and he bigged up Series 11 big time as well. So even the fact that he's even bigging this up even more makes me believe that this is even going to be worse than Series 11. I'm being honest. I do believe the first episode will do well, but it will depend on how the writing is for them to return for the second one. I say we will see a dip in the second episode, I'm being honest, if it's not up to scratch. What do you guys think just before we actually end it? Because I know you all have to, and someone wrote hashtag Solo lost money. Yes, it did.
Yes. It's going to lose viewers. It's going to be similar to Series 11, where there will be interest for the first episode, but I think the drop off this year is going to be a lot more substantial than it was last year
and faster.
I think overall this will be the lowest rated series, and there are a lot of longtime fans that will not even watch the first episode.
Yeah, true. That's true. And I'm actually not even watching it live, believe it or not. I've actually
I won't either. No.
I don't factor into the ratings anyway, but I won't be watching it live.
My sons are back from university and they want to do other things, so I'm going to spend time with them.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. You're better off, to be honest, mate. We can watch it a couple of hours later, if you know what I mean, and then I could do my reviews. But I'm not watching it live. I feel that strongly that I'm not even gonna.
I'm not excited. No, it's just I'm not excited. I got, genuinely, aside from all this stuff and how I feel about it, I'm not excited by it.
Exactly.
I think the fundamental is that we are entitled. You know, if it's not promoting that response from us, that emotional response, that connectivity where we can't bear to miss it, then that's a pure response, and you sort of communicate that with your opinion. Why, you sort of take in that feeling, and then you think, okay, why do I feel like this? And then you give your take, you give your opinion, and this is what everybody else in the fan base has got to eventually accept, is that we are entitled to our opinions. You haven't got to agree with us. We're not trying to force you to agree with us. Just accept that we are equals. We are entitled to our opinions. It doesn't make us all Nazis, misogynists, racists, homophobes, and generally nasty people. It is that simple. That's all I'm ever mouthing off about. Now, it's a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
That's it. And we'll try leave on a positive note after Ballstrick makes his point. Go ahead, Ballstrick.
I was just going to say, the only reason I'm watching it on New Year's Day is because I'm planning to have my review video out. And for Series 12, because it is going to be so over the top, these are going to be woke Batman style reviews. So just sarcastic as hell and largely just making fun of it, because I'm past the point of being angry. Now you can either laugh or cry. I choose to laugh.
One question and a quick answer for you, though, right? I don't think we did actually. Well, we got an answer that you wouldn't forgive the BBC. But if this series is actually an improvement, right? Will you actually review it like that, or will you let our hatred for the show? Because let's be honest, we have seen it out there with some YouTubers out there have let their hatred take over, which is fair enough. I can understand it because I'm a fan myself. I know what it feels like to have characters that you've grown up to watch shit all over. But if this Series 12 does actually end up being good, and Jodie Whittaker does somehow up her performance, right? Looking at the trailer, I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. But if it does, and I know it's a lot of ifs, but if this show actually does kind of go back to when Doctor Who, or starts to go back to, or you could see changes, you could see that it's going in the right direction. Will you give credit where credit is due?
Well, look at it's still on my channel. Look at my original review to The Woman Who Fell to Earth. I was being fair in that episode, and that was a week after the white males comment came out. So it's now, granted, I thought she was just pulling it off as regenerative psychosis at the time, but she played it like that throughout the entire series. I was originally, I said I liked the music. It was more soundscapes, but then Akinola did the same thing throughout the next 11 episodes. But if there is something good, I will say there's something good. I don't expect there to be something good. I will never like this era of the show. I will never like this Doctor or Chris Chibnall based on what has become before. Like my reviews, they're often, I do them humorous, they're sarcastic, angry, and so forth. But I've also, included good things when it comes up. So no, if hell freezes over and pigs start to fly in this furious hell, then I'll say it's an improvement.
Right. Well, do you know what? No, but I'm glad to hear you say that, because you have to, as I do say, you have to give credit where credit is due. If it's good, I will also be the same. I will say it's good, but I'm like you. I just don't see this being any good, and maybe it's because Series 11 was so bad, and because there is so much hurt that I can't see past that. But nothing about these trailers or these little clips excite me. What about you, Dan?
One day I'll tell you both the story of how I came to start podcasting and the journey I went on with that, because it was a similar thing to you, Ballstrick, with that first review of The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Reviewing that entire season, really, I went with my honest, open, gut reactions. I was generous where I could be, but that was before all the dialogue, all the ideology sort of sprang up around it, and all the silly quotes and interviews and all that sort of thing. So it's difficult to put that to one side, but I will. What I was saying about it promoting that response, if it excites me, if it engages me on some level, I will I will say, and I will admit it, I don't feel duty bound to just tear into whatever they send my way.
Yeah.
If it's got some positive qualities, I will endeavour to find them and say so. And you can't deny it. If something engages you in some way, and if you try and pretend you haven't, then people won't believe me when I talk about it on Type 40. And my approach to podcasting has always been one of complete honesty with the listeners, I think. And although I'll tell you the story of that one day, gents. But yeah, because that was a learning curve in itself. But I plan on keeping those principles right at hand when it comes to the rollout of Series 12. I've got an inkling of what to expect, and I can't see Jodie Whittaker ever winning me over. Nope. I was very disappointed to see that first, and second trailer in particular. To me, it looks like exactly the same note. The note perfect. The repeat of the same character, no evolution or anything. I keep my fingers crossed because I'm on Doctor Who's side. I'm on the side of Doctor Who fandom, as divided as it is. More so than Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker. No, I've got no loyalty towards those people whatsoever. They don't care about me. So with respect, I don't care about them. They can do whatever they like with their own careers, whatever. That's fine. I even understand on some level. But obviously that I don't have to like what they bring to me. So no,
you're loyal to the show. You're loyal to the show.
Yeah, I'm loyal to the show, and I'm loyal to the fan base. That's everybody in the chat who's always so friendly towards me and has come and has liked and followed me since I've been on Noel's channel. I've popped up various other places. So thank you all. Thank every single one of you who's subbed and liked and all the rest of it. But yeah, I will continue to give those honest responses whenever I can. And and if they don't like it, like I say, people will like what I say, or there'll be people on Gallifrey base who will tear me a new one
not even any point arguing with them. If you argue with them and even do it reasonably, they'll just ban you or delete you.
I've had some extraordinary exchanges on there that are just not anything like any form of communication you would ever have in the outside world.
If you want a good laugh, go to Gallifrey base, go to the search engine, and look up either Bulls Trek or Nerdrotic, and you'll have.
I've never thought to look either of you up on there, but I will. Do that.
They love us
because I'm in there. I mean, I'm there. I go by. Everybody knows who I put my opinions out front and center. I understand why people will keep their real names, identities on the down low. I get that completely. For one reason or another, I haven't. But I'm always out there as Dan Hadley, always with my picture and my mush everywhere, and there's people on that forum, they just tear into me. But genuinely, I say to them too, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I hope they enjoy the series if this is honestly what they want. But don't berate me.
Yeah, for not liking it, and don't belittle me. Don't call me names. That's exactly the point, Dan.
No malice towards anybody. Well, almost nobody. I mean, when somebody attacks you personally, you can't help but take it personally. But generally, I love this fandom, and I want it to recover. I want
it to go back to the way it was.
Yeah. I want Doctor Who to thrive, and I want the worst arguments we ever have to be about whether the Doctor is half human.
Do you know what? I would so love, just like you guys, for this show to be successful, for Jodie Whittaker to be successful and blown our minds. Okay, no matter what our personal feelings are on the gender issue.
It's happened.
We just want Doctor Who to succeed, and whoever happens to be in that role, we do. And even when she was cast, and I know she came out with stuff, I did wish her the best of luck on her first outing, because I really wanted her to prove me wrong.
I
really did. I never wanted someone so much to succeed, even though she'd done those little videos. I wanted her to prove us wrong, to say this could actually work. But she didn't, and that's the point. And it's not just her. Chris Chibnall has let her down with the writing and his writing team, but she's just so far out of her depth. It's just unbelievable, and it is sad to see. It's sad to see the demise of this show, and it does break me heart. But listen, I want to leave a bit on a positive note, and I have
sing us a song, Noel.
I'm not doing that now. But here, you see a comment up on the screen, and I have seen people talk about The Expanse. So
is that all dropped?
Yeah, I have to watch it. I actually have to rewatch season 3 before I watch season 4. But yeah, they dropped it all at once apparently, which is
I
watched episode 1 of season 1 last week, and I loved it.
It is
apparently.
Yeah, it's one of the best sci-fi shows out there.
Well, that's what everybody was saying. That's what I was going to actually say. So, Doomcock and Gary have obviously been talking about it, and they say it's probably one of the best sci-fi shows on television. So there is good sci-fi still being made, thankfully. And, shows like The Expanse, I do agree with the lads. I think it was a bad idea to drop it all at once. I never have gotten that. Why not drop 2 episodes each week if you want to do it that way? Yeah, I think that would keep fans happy. To drop it all at one, and I do agree with Doomcock. You drop a show like that all at once, you're talking about it you're only talking about it then for a couple of days because people will binge watch it.
That's what happened to Good Omens. Yeah.
So you need to be you need to generate the interest. So why not drop 2 episodes a week or something? Even if you don't want to do the 1 episode a week, drop 2 episodes a week. Don't drop it all at once. It doesn't. It's not going to do the show any good.
Well,
but this show is so good that it seems to be popular. So what I say to people is, if you want good sci-fi, people are saying watch The Expanse. I would agree with that. I'm going to start watching it myself. And I know Ballstrek did actually recommend that Expanse to me last year, because I remember actually asking you, is there any good sci-fi shows out there? And you said you have to watch The Expanse. So I'm going to start watching The Expanse. So go and watch The Expanse. And obviously when The Orville comes out, support that show as well, because that's kick-ass. Love The Orville as well. So there is good sci-fi being made. It's not all doom and gloom, but the show that we hold dear to our hearts right now is in a spot of bother. I hope it can come through this, but I agree with a couple of YouTubers that have said that they think it's Doctor Who's time is over, it's done. I do believe that. I think the fandom is beyond repair, Dan, to be quite honest with you. I think what's happened is, as Ballstrecker said, a lot of those fans have walked away. They will not come back. There's a few still hanging on. They will probably all drop off by the time Series 12 airs. They'll get a couple of episodes in, probably realise that it's actually worse than Series 11. They will walk away, and then what you're left with? You're left with us that will be talking about it, and then obviously the ones that actually do support the show. And is there going to be enough of those fans to keep Doctor Who going? I don't think
there was, but no.
No, that's the problem.
It'll be the likes of us picking up the pieces again, just like we did in 1990, and again in 97 after the poor TV movie wasn't picked up. It'll be us picking it up again. Because we can't help ourselves, can we, Ballstrek? Because it's part of us, this show.
Yeah.
In a sense, we do, and I don't mean us personally. We do own this show in many respects.
Yeah.
It's it's not it's not a statement of entitlement.
No,
it's just and the BBC could find that out. Yeah, they are. I mean, through merchandising, they are finding that out.
If they tapped into us fans, they would be sitting on a gold mine right now.
Yeah, every single person in the chat now, every single person who comments is a member of any Doctor Who Facebook group or even on Gallifrey Base or anything like that, or Eddie's forum. It's and Glenn's mentioning there Avenue 5. That looks reasonably promising. I know Hugh Laurie he's very left wing, but Avenue 5 does look like a quality show. Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah. All's not lost.
No, they're still making some good shows out there. And maybe I'll get you two lads on some other time when you get the time. I know you've got a busy schedule, Ballstrek, coming up, so it'll probably be the new year. But get you on and we will talk about those successful sci-fi shows. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to watch The Expanse over the Christmas and the New Year. so I'll be able to actually finally talk about it. I'm going to check out a few more other sci-fi shows. I'm going to rewatch the Orville 2 seasons again before
I think I'm going to do that.
drops.
I think I'm going to revisit the Orville too
now. Because I want to talk about them on this channel, because I do love the Orville. First season, it was obviously fine in its feet. I think the second season, it really matured. I got the balance right. And I'm really looking forward to Series 3. And I think Gary, if I'm right, Balstrek, wasn't Gary on the set? Wasn't he on the bridge of the Orville?
I believe he was, yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's because I think they're filming it in... No, I think it's filmed out of LA. I think it might have been on one of his LA trips.
Yeah, he went. I think he went to a con or something, and I happened to be there. Yeah, and he got shown around.
Yeah,
but
I think that might have been maybe a year ago.
Yeah,
maybe
I heard him talk about having to sign an NDA, so that was probably what it was about then. Because I do watch Gary's stuff, but
he couldn't say much, but he did say the things that he could say was that people should really watch the Orville Series 3, because there's going to be some big things.
Thanks, Pam. Tune in later as I enjoyed your chatting, lads. Thank you, Pam.
Yeah. Guys, just before we finish up, because I know Balstrek has to go now. I have to go.
Yeah, me too. I need my beauty sleep.
And
I've got to go back to work.
But just before we do say the goodbyes, I just want to thank everybody in the chat tonight who has contributed. Obviously, I've been putting up some of your chat up on the screen there. Some good points made by a lot of you there, and some a lot of you are not a fan of Jodie Whittaker's new Tardis interior, which is not surprising, to be quite honest with you.
Just imagine the joy that we'll all feel when that thing explodes.
Yes.
And that would probably be the best.
Merry Christmas, gentlemen.
Can I ask you, just before you go, when Jodie Whittaker regenerates, he's going to cry. I think I'm going to cry. Come here, have you noticed? I don't know about yours, but I shouldn't be really saying this over the live chat. I've probably shown people me kryptonite now. But I don't know about you guys, but I've been getting very emotional lately, right? So the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer actually made me quite emotional, right? Because it had the New Order music in it, but it felt like proper, like, because I like the first Wonder Woman movie. I know there's that whole scene where she stands up on the battlefield, but other than that, it was a good solid movie. The second one looks like it's going to be a good solid movie. Now, I know they've had the same problems. Apparently, there's been reshoots, but there was reshoots for the first one, and the first one turned out all right. So I have high hopes for the second one, but I got quite emotional watching that trailer, believe it or not. I don't know why. Then the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer, though, sent me over the edge, because I watched them back to back. So I watched the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer, and then I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer. And I actually cried. Do you know the part where I don't know who's doing the voiceover. Is that Paul Rudd doing the voiceover? Call it fate, call it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I see that whole line, and then he pulls the sheet off, and they get into the ecto one, and then it goes through the. I lost it. I actually start crying like a baby. I don't know what it was. I should have done a live reaction to that trailer.
Brings you back to your youth. That's why.
Yeah.
You're only a year younger than I am, so we were kids when the first Ghostbusters movie came out.
Yeah.
And that's why.
You're human after all, mate.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it?
Oh, seriously. No. And then I'm watching people's reactions to it, and I'm bawling even worse. I'm even crying worse.
Maybe it's also relief that Ghostbusters 2016 is officially dead, and there have been no ghosts for 30 years, which might be my favorite quote in the entire thing.
That was
guys, you know what I enjoyed even more than the trailer? Honestly,
that?
for about 5 to 10 seconds after I watched that trailer, I totally, no word of a lie, I had totally forgotten that Ghostbusters 2016 even happened. So just imagine.
Well, it has been deleted.
Yeah. I think it is. I agree with you, Balstrek. I think it was a connection to my childhood. It really had that feeling. And I know there's some Ghostbusters fans out there that are a little bit worried that they didn't hear a bit of the Ghostbusters music going through the trailer. Some Ghostbusters fan did actually put the Ghostbusters theme song through it it doesn't have the same effect. This trailer was perfect. I'm sorry, it was perfect.
It was just the first trailer.
And I do like the fact that and I do like the fact that this trailer didn't have Ghostbusters music. Do you know why?
Oh yeah, actually, Super John said, actually the voice was it was Bill Murray. I have to listen to it again, but yeah,
it was Bill Murray.
I keep hearing that it was Bill Murray. I have to listen to it again.
But all I'll just say is this feels like to me, and I said this the other night, I don't know if you two guys agree or disagree with me, and then we'll leave it at that, because I said we were going to say goodbye 20 minutes ago and I'm still talking. But
gift of the gab.
Yeah, I know. I've always had it. I need to really watch. Now I'm at the losing my train of thought. What was I saying?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
Music.
The music. Yeah, the trailer. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So this kind of has a feel to me that this movie is going to earn that kind of music. You know, like what they did with Casino Royale. Yeah. We didn't hear the James Bond theme music until the end of that movie.
Yep.
We got it right at the end. So I think that's what's going to happen with this Ghostbusters movie. I think we won't actually get that Ghostbusters theme music until the end of that movie, because they're going to do sequels to these movies if it's successful.
And please don't be the Fall Out Boy version, for the love of God.
Oh, Jesus.
Worst cover ever.
Oh, no, hope not. Just play. No, well, look, you know, someone mentioned, a lot of people have mentioned, it has a Stranger Things kind of feel to it, obviously, because there's a Stranger Things kid in it. But, I mean, it does have that kind of feel, doesn't it? Does this movie, seeing the trailer, just because we want to finish on a bit of a positive, does this trailer give you hope for the movie?
Yes, I'm actually excited for this one.
See, it's nice to hear. And you know what, all those bitches in the media moaning because we actually love the trailer, it just actually goes to show you how butthurt they actually got over this, that this trailer got such a positive reaction.
Best thing to do with those people, just ignore them.
Yeah.
Or have a talking goat make fun of them.
That's it. Is the talking goat actually going to make fun of the Ghostbusters whinge bags? Because that would be a good video.
Oh, well, we've kind of forgotten about Ghostbusters now because they've been deleted. So the goat's making a comeback. He'll be doing something. I just have no idea.
Yeah. Right, lads, do me a favor. Obviously, I was saying goodnight 20 minutes ago, but we're going to say goodnight now. Just want to give you our channels and all you our stuff shout out there. I don't know if anybody actually put the links. If you want to put the links in the live chat there as well, guys. Usually Chuckzilla does that kind of thing for me, but he's obviously not here tonight. So if you could do that while you are giving you our channels a shout out on the air as well. I'd appreciate that. So go ahead, whoever wants to go first.
I'm Dan Hadley. I go everywhere as the Space Book, and I make the podcast. Well, I produce and host and put together the podcast Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network. We've been putting out new episodes most weeks over the last few months, and with lots of voices you may have heard and some you won't, of different podcasts and various other things. And yeah, if you go and find that on the Fandom Podcast Network, it's on Spotify, it's on iHeartRadio, it's on Podbean, all those different places. We've got our Christmas party, the Type 40 Christmas party episode, dropping in a few days' time. That's with myself, a few other guests popping in, and starry-eyed girls there with me as well, my little sister. We're having fun. We're getting drunk, sort of, and we're eating chocolates and talking about Doctor Who. It's unmissable, guys. It really is. That's coming in a few days' time. Your Christmas wouldn't be complete without it. And look for the Spacebook on YouTube and throw me a like and a sub. We'll have new content coming out in the new year. We're developing that all the time. I'm still quite new to YouTube, but I'm enjoying it. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Dan Hadley and Type 40 and the Spacebook. Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Bolstrick. It's been fantastic.
And Dan, I will definitely have to have you on one of my live streams as well. We do the Trigger Train live stream. Well, not the past two Saturdays because my schedule's insane, but we're coming back on this week.
I'd be delighted.
Okay, you will be one of my next guests.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, who am I? I forget who I am. So I'm this guy named Bolstrek. Everybody loves me. The entire Doctor Who fan base.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the year.
I've never been negative in a video ever. I'm never sarcastic.
He's super positive.
I've never dropped a bad language word in a video ever.
No.
So I am politically neutral.
Yeah. He's a saint.
I'm a saint.
He's super serial.
And I have a goat who takes over my channel sometimes and makes fun of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you like happy, non-controversial content, which doesn't upset anybody, youtube.com/BOWLESTREK, the happiest channel in the world.
Yeah. And do you know what? I seen a video recently of the top 50 Doctor Who YouTubers, and do you know what was sad?
Well, I won't be on that because
I didn't feature. Dan, you didn't feature. None of us featured.
I saw that list. No, people were actually being threatened if they even mentioned. You were banned. I was banned. Nerdrotic was banned. Mecha Random was banned.
Who was left?
I was banned, so that's why I did. I was wondering because someone else that we both know, we won't mention the person's name, made the list, and I was like, how did they make the list?
Oh no! If you looked at the comments, people were actually threatening people if they mentioned any of our names.
Wow!
So it was amusing.
Oh, brilliant! And there's Balstrek's YouTube channel up on the links. Dan, did you throw it up there as well in the live chat?
I didn't because I don't know how to in StreamYard.
Hold on, we'll get Chris to do it. Chris, if you could put down the space book, it's on YouTube as well. If you could put the space book.
The way to do it is I pull up the YouTube live video on a separate screen. You have to do it on YouTube, not in StreamYard.
I did that last time, didn't I? Because I've only used StreamYard twice.
I think you did do it once before. I don't know how to do it. To be honest with you, when it comes to technology, I'm actually useless.
Don't be a boomer, Noel.
Yeah. Stop that. I hate all those terms. Boomer. Yeah. No, I'm a Gen X. Don't be confusing me with the boomer there, right? Gen X.
Well, this boomer's got to get to bed. I'm going to wish you both.
There you go, Dan. It's up
here we are.
Anyway,
thank you, Chris. You're a diamond, sir. Thank you both for your company. I've really enjoyed it. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. Doctor Who-less Christmas. But watch whatever you like. Enjoy whatever you're watching. And I hope to speak to you both again soon. And thank you to everybody for listening to all this in the chat. I'm getting tired. Good night, all.
Good night, Dan. Nice to have you.
Bye.
And with that, we will also say good night. So just me and you now, Balstrek, but we will finish up. Listen, guys, thank you for joining us, and obviously I will be talking to you before Christmas, and I'll obviously be talking to you as well, Balstrek, over the Christmas as well. But listen, we've got plenty to look forward to in the new year. It's definitely gonna be a journey. We'll see where it takes us, but wherever it takes us, it's definitely going to be controversial. I know that. With that, Balstrek, thanks for coming on such short notice as usual.
Cheers,
true friend. I really appreciate it. Seriously, guys, you just don't know how much this guy does for me. I mean, this was literally short notice, and he had a pile of work, and he dropped it all to come on tonight. So
it saved me from the boredom of my day job. So this was free.
But no, I really do appreciate it. So thanks for coming on. Listen, guys, I will talk to you again. What day are we on?
This is the 16th, if that helps. It is can't even remember. It's a Monday. God damn it.
It's a Monday. Yeah, so we're in it to fish. Yeah. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Yeah. So hopefully we'll have another panel on Wednesday. So I'll talk to you all. Good night, guys. Have a good one. And don't drink too much of it at Christmas. Alcohol's not good. Good night. It's not. Seriously.
No, bad things. Bad things.
I drank a whole bottle of whiskey on a live stream once. So we'll just leave it at that. Good night, folks.